Hello everybody, today I'm speaking with Wonders and Blunders, a fresh new D&D 5th edition podcast where we follow a group of travelling magical item hunters travelling the land looking for the next wonder. The D&D disclaims at the beginning in session 1 that he's not super experienced with the rules of D&D, but he launches into the narrative like he's been doing it for years. Hello Wonders and Blunders!
Hello!
Hey.
So I've had to set up a quick rig here because I haven't got some of my equipment. I'm actually off site. So apologies for that, but your sound's coming through fantastic for me. Before we hear a bit about the characters, I'd like to hear about the setting. As I say, Mike, you've just kind of launched straight into it from session 1 and immediately I was interested. So can you tell the viewers about your world and your current campaign?
I mean, our world is a homebrew D&D ed world. Sort of started in our old campaign, so we've been playing together for quite some time, and I built little sections of the world as they became necessary to build what was outside of any of those things. And then when we decided to start the podcast, I started filling in the blanks between those based on what I'd learned from our first campaign, to throw everybody onto the other side of the world, which I had created.
I kind of like that. I think I do the same thing where I'm like, I need to sort out how this world connects in. So I'm just going to throw you to a remote location and find out how to sew them together afterwards. I was actually speaking to Robert before the recording, and that's kind of exactly what I did. Where I had a bunch of different games. I didn't intend to make my own world, and then I was like, hang on, I've said it's much travel from this place to this place, or these two borders are at war with each other, and the map more evolved than anything else. So you guys said that you played previously. Was that 5th edition as well?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, actually, that's what we're planning on playing later this afternoon. Like the old campaign, which is still running.
Yeah, I had a campaign go 5 years, so I can feel it. Yeah, there's a lot of after a while, I don't know if you get the same thing, but I have trouble letting go of a campaign once it's matured to a certain level. So you said at the beginning, Mike, that you weren't that experienced with the rules of D&D, but you've done a previous campaign.
He was joking.
Yeah. I wasn't actually joking. There's still a lot of rules that I don't know. Kieran and Evan actually here know, I think, every rule.
Yeah. Ooh, guys know the rules better than you. Yeah, just make sure you've got a card to hold up saying "shut up."
Everybody's been pretty good at the rules, constantly depending on what the story calls for or what the game calls for, but.
Both like story more than we like rules.
Yeah,
we also just really like knowing all the rules.
And it's surprising.
So the campaign, you guys are looking for magical items as part of kind of a traveling circus or show of a traveling show.
It's definitely become a circus.
And your setting seems to be middle to high fantasy, because these magical items are actually super rare, epic, like Lord of the Rings. If you find something, it's super, super special. But you are able to go out and find these things fairly regularly to keep things interesting.
Yeah, so the magic is pretty common in this world. It's not unusual to see wizards, and magic is to make the. I thought of the world as being sort of young with a pretty strong connection to the gods. Do come to the material plane, and they walk around, and you find them sometimes. Stuff mess things up. Yeah, so
yeah,
that's my favorite. I love the magic, and when I think about the possibilities of what wizards can do, and then try to implement that into your everyday life, just my animated broom is washing the dishes.
Yeah.
My garden gnome sentries will keep the crows out of the garden and everything.
Yeah.
I find that quite interesting.
I found recently some of the players in our game, I used a bit of a plot device and gave them a jump from level 4 to level 7, which shocked the hell out of them, and said, oh, by the way, you don't remember how you got there. So this is the campaign at the moment, that they don't know how they got to level 7. and they're having a bit of a culture shock. As you say, magic is the texture of our respective worlds, and it's hey, look, I can scry on other people. And you start using NPCs scrying on them, and they're like, hey, no fair. You're not allowed to do that. It's like, I absolutely can.
We've had interesting conversations in the past about this, really, with like high-level wizards constantly being messaged. Like, would they have a magic item that takes all their messages and gives them to a receptionist?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The amulet of call filtering has to be a thing. I'm sorry. A number of times in a previous campaign, we met the one level 18 wizard, and they were like, sir, this is happening, sir, that is happening. It's like, this guy must hate them. He absolutely hate them. I almost turned him into the antagonist. So I've already met your characters, but I know the people who've watching haven't. Talking about the magic involved, I'm going to be watching Rutherford very carefully because let's say I know the type. But how about we go around to players and you can introduce yourself and characters.
Sure. I guess I'll start and we'll go around. I'm Kate. I play Karev, who is a halfling druid. Playing her with like a super story, but there might be a few things that come up. Mostly, I'm just going to be doing a bunch of.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay, sorry. I think I had something to say. I'm Evan. I'm playing Rutherford. And yeah, he's a divination with human friendly and just wants to get to know everybody. Uses magic to help him out.
Be prepared to be hated. I played a divination wizard for Dragon Heist, and no, it's not Dragon Heist. Sorry, it was a homebrew game, sorry. And just suddenly turn around and go saying, "Yeah, I've got a natural 20 in my pocket." The DM hated me. He hated me so much.
I'm excited for that.
He's all got luck points. He took.
Oh, good God!
Inspired
You're a monster. All you need to do now is multi into Mastermind, Rogue, and then you can just be truly hated by every enemy.
I'll start letting him write the campaign.
Charming, though. I don't think we I play the Brothers of Fey Castle. It's anyone being Rowan, of course, is kind of an observer of people and just kind of knows about and something that he knows far less about than it is, and just kind of had fun wherever he's going. It's been good.
It's just all true of Andy.
Yeah, so I'm playing Star, which is the Tabaxi rogue. Tabaxi swashbuckler is what he's eventually going to be. He was sort of originally thought of as a person who had become a master businessman and then instantly became bored of it, cat style, and then so decided to devote himself 100% to becoming the world's #1 duelist. And now he's just dragged his family along for the ride.
So Banderas with film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Mitchell. I play Benjamin Craven, wild shifter. Boy. Yeah. Kind of I have really bad stats. And, how could someone have these bad stats? I thought, well, maybe a child. And has anything else fall in line with the character is it went stats and then forward as opposed to other times where I have a full character and then attached to them.
Yeah.
So this went the other way.
I think that's a challenge. I have said before that if I roll really abysmal stats at some point, I'm going to play that guy because I've played a lot of characters, as I said to you guys before. I've been playing D for about 16 years, and I've played a lot of, bright and colourful characters. What I want now is like Eric. Eric wants to be an adventurer, but he should be. Eric's story is going to be that he is going to die before level 3. That will be the story.
Yes. Don't know.
And a Brazilian Dask, who is a large blue crocodile, who grew up completely in the wild, never around civilization, grew up in the untamed wilds.
The Untamed Wilds, yeah.
And I'm having a lot of fun learning about cities and people, and
And just generally terrifies because I've played a folk, I played folk monk, and after a while we came to the consensus that where the town is just on the outskirts, with the horses, because nothing in there and I'm effectively around walking into the city just isn't going to work. Well, I said a few of these things before we started recording. One of the things that hit me right from the start was that you guys fantastic energy voices, immediately affable, and the sound quality was amazing. Told it get better after session 4, but way I was kind of a little jealous. My first recordings of podcasts and streams have been a bit small, but seem to have nailed it. I think I've become a podcast. What's the word? I've become picky. Yeah, I've become picky because so many of them now. And if the sound quality, the voice and things like that, I'm there going, "Oh, this is going to be a bit of a chore." But it really was. I'm close to the another binge that I did, but obviously before I wanted to get a few episodes into my belt. But I can certainly see myself close because it's got that energy, it's got that fun that really kind of radiates between you all, and some of your character decisions. See where some scenarios go should you be in them. So yeah, and that's obviously the essence of D&D is that I can say, I can't wait till they get into this or these two have a conversation. It's coming. You know what I'm on about. It's got a lot of promise, and it's something that I really love seeing. I can't go on for much because we put this into the break of our particular stream. But if our viewers want to hear your adventures or follow you, they need to look.
They should head to wonder.com. That's wonder. They can follow us at same Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, and find the details to the right of me here on the screen. And any other handle or Instagram or anything like that we need to add to it?
Yeah, just check out Wonder on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the podcast you can find on Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah.
Any podcatcher that you have should be able to find it.
I did a bit of a graze around, and I found your podcast on all of them. So it's really available and easy to find as well. So that's fantastic. Well, I heartily recommend Wonders and Blunders for anybody who, especially if they've used as much as I do, and anything to just pick up their day if they're in work and listening instead of music. The only problem that I'm going to have was that I have a feeling that I ended up laughing at my desk, which could get trouble. So, but Wonders and Blunders, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to following your adventures. And as you guys go on and you get to certain parts in your campaign, would you be okay to come back and have a chat with us about it? Yeah,
that'd be great.
Fantastic. We'll do a more in-depth chat. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hello everybody and welcome to Chaotic Neutral Games with our D&D 5th edition campaign, The Benefactor. I'm here with Felicia, Corinne, Nick and Kate. Unfortunately, Rodrigo's not with us for the next 3 weeks. And if you remember from last session, we had him walk off with a member of his family. And we will go into a little bit of that before we start the session today. So I'm hoping that you saw our video, our Next Love D&D. The quality will get better, I promise you, but that was actually done on the fly. I think I said at the beginning of the video. And so I was cribbing off Wi-Fi and the guys were having to sort out driver issues and all sorts of other things. So, but either way, it was fantastic to have Wonders and Blunders speak to us. I'm trying to get Turncloaks for the next one. And I may even throw that at one of these other guys to ask the questions, being that I've already listened to a lot of Turncloaks and I will happily get somebody else into it as well because I think they're fantastic. So let's bring the players up first and then I will start with the preamble. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So after somewhat of a rambling journey, you find yourself in the village of Vaughnford. You were met by a man called Bradford Moss who seemed to show you right from the start, even before you got to the town proper. You found yourself greeted as friends, good friends of the town. And when you turned up in the town, you started to see the market and the people kind of walking past you and nodding their heads at you as if they recognized you. There was a sudden feeling of, yeah, we're in the right place. There's clearly memories here to be regained. You are approached by Henry Albon, who identifies himself as the cousin of the mayor, Albert Albon. You accompany him to go and speak to the mayor, and the mayor starts to quiz you. A very forthright man and a little bit proud, but otherwise seems to be quite a jovial and kind fellow. And he starts to quiz you after you state that you've lost your memories to make sure you are who you say you are. All the time, Henry is watching on, and after you answer the questions, some of them kind of random questions that suggest that there would be an answer that you may have provided before. You watch as Albert nods to Henry, and Henry, and I will repeat this from last session, turns from one halfling into another halfling wearing Ostergald University robes, and then drops a second image, so 2 layers of illusion, and becomes a goblin wearing a bowler hat, a small waistcoat, shirt, pressed trousers, brightly shined black shoes, and still wearing these Ostergald colours, these university colours. He introduces himself as Merrick Briarstone, the person that you were sent to investigate. And he states, because I was going to drop the line either way, that news of his death was greatly exaggerated. And that's where you stopped. However, whilst this happened, one of your party cocked a head as a message appeared in his head. And a familiar voice told him that he was needed to help him with an issue. Oops, someone's popped out. They'll be back in a sec. Yep. Everybody shuffled, but they are all back. I'll just set you all up again as I talk. Oop, and again. Who keeps popping in and out? There we go.
My internet just completely crapped out for a minute there.
Right, okay. And
No, that was me.
No, you. I think you were full robot for both me and Kate there.
Yeah, for me as well. Probably
Yeah,
not
it
just
went
me, but for me.
entire robot, and I had to jump in and out to make the connection stable again.
right, okay. Well,
So I
we will
might have
carry on.
moved space. Yeah, me and
Okay.
Kate have switched spaces.
Yep, I'm just moving you guys into.
Do you know what? Oh, that would be a really cool dynamic to see. You do swap characters just to see what you do with them.
Oh God. I don't know what I'm more scared of, Felicia as Cora or Kate as Glory.
We should have one of those, like in like the 2000s cartoons, they would have this body swapping episode.
Freaky Friday, yeah. Do the Freaky Friday episode.
Every single one of them. Yeah.
Yes, and like, I just want to see a body swapping episode for us, and like I'm trying to imagine like Eclipse in Farrell's body going like,
It has one shot written all over it. So...
Where's the tail? Where's the tail? How am I keeping balance?
Right. Carrying on. Aiden cocks ahead, and he automatically passes on his stealth roll because I am God and I say so, as he slips out the back door, well, the door behind you, not the back door, and out to the street. Standing there, waiting for him, is a salt and pepper bearded and bushy-haired man. Broad, muscles covered in scars, and a giant scar across his face. One eye completely out because this guy's a stereotype. And he looks at Aiden with a look of gruff, but I would say kind of grizzled approval and familiarity, the doting uncle that he is. And he says, kill Aiden and
farewell for wandering off.
Okay.
Not that she holds grudges, ladies and gentlemen.
Aiden is suddenly reduced to a little boy again. Suddenly he is not the hunter. He is one of the hunters. Not only that, he's not the best hunter, because the best hunter that's currently alive is right in front of him. His head bows slightly, and as he does so, this giant meaty hand is placed on his shoulder. And Hector says, I know this isn't the life you chose, but this is the life you were born into. I know the burden you bear, for it was me who gave it to you. Please, let's go and find some answers. 2 dark black horses with strange pearlescent eyes are wearing full barding and are held in the other hand of Hector, the reins. He passes one rein to Aiden and gives a nod. Aiden gives a nod as well, and together both of them wave their hands through the air, and as they do so, a strange veil of pearlescent light just surrounds them as they go into the veil. No one else notices them. Why would they? They are as if they were dead, as if they were in the ethereal plane. But this is a Canelm trick. They mount the horses. The horses are now gaunt, skeletal, the skin sticking to their bones. They jump on, whisper a word into the ears of each mount, and the mounts tear across the landscape and go through the walls of the city. Aiden will return. As for the rest of you, you're stood there, slightly dumbfounded in the mayor's office, whilst you can hear the sounds of the market outside. As stated before, the market's not that busy. For a town of this size, people come in and go out. There tends to be a bit of a sleepy market, but it does good business. When people go there, they spend for the week, or farmers will come and take livestock away by the drove. So it's affluent, it's successful, but it's not exactly as you know it from the cities, where there'll be a lot of people just passing through, looking for a bargain, thieves trying to take advantage of the crowds to take a little for themselves. It feels a little alien, like a one-horse town, but for them it's a fairly busy day. But as I say, that's outside. and inside you're standing dumbfounded in the mayor's office. It's over to you.
Well, they are.
Yeah, it's all the girls.
Yeah, it's only the girls left.
Oh yes.
How can this go wrong?
Farewell is on his way to a graveyard, and we will get to that because
the person that he thought was buried there is no longer buried there because guy is right in front of us.
Farewell's going off to speak to Merrick Briarstone, the person who's in front of
no,
the
he's not.
No, he's not.
That's not where he was going. But Cora is gonna, unless the others, I'm staring at Merrick or this goblin, and I'm gonna.
What spell did you use, and how can you replicate it?
Is that what you're asking him?
Yes.
I almost forgot. This guy is
I'm fumbling for my green organization badge.
Sure. So Merrick Briarstone, by the way, I mentioned it last session, but I will mention it as well because I'm a big fan of the character. He looks like the character Griphook from Harry Potter. He is a flesh-colored flesh-colored goblin. No tinge of green in his skin at all. A slight tinge of brown. He's got kind of maybe just past olive skin. He's I don't know what to characterize it. Maybe a very light, very, very light bronze or tan skin. And he looks at you straight away, and your question seems to delight him slightly. He goes, which particular spell? I have quite a few going on at the moment.
How do you make an illusion over an illusion? I haven't seen that before.
It can be done quite easily. It's maintaining concentration on two things at once is the problem. Thankfully, that was not a problem for me. I was using illusion, and beyond that, he lifts up his hat and shows you inside the bowler hat, and inside you can see there's runes written on the band inside the hat.
My hat materializes because I keep it invisible most of the time, and I say same hat.
Same hat, different millman. Yeah, his hat is a bowler hat. Yours is like a leather cap, but
I always imagined it being a proper witch's hat. Like that's the reason we should keep it invisible because it's a proper witch hat.
I always imagined it as like one of those little party hats.
I just imagine it like a top hat this size that just
like a
fascinator, brilliant.
It just sits between your ears.
Yeah, it sits there between my ears, and
Ironically, when it disguises itself, it becomes her ears. But yeah.
Yes.
So yes, it's really not a problem, and very good as well because most people don't check beyond the first illusion.
Exactly. That's actually a good one.
I've been doing this for some time. Being a goblin in the city is somewhat of a hazardous
Sorry for
lifestyle.
this question kind of blasted, but we were informed that you were dead by.
Indeed, as a doornail.
Did you die?
Not quite. I simply just took the energy of my death and placed it into one of the other people who got hideously murdered by you all. A deep gnome.
That explained the acid burns.
Yes, you made quite a mess of that deep gnome.
Did you take our memories?
No, beyond my spell range and expertise, I'm afraid.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on a second.
Farewell.
We found Merrick. He's alive, and he's a gnome, and he's here in the office.
No, he's a
And
goblin.
Maybe you should... Goblin. I knew that. I knew that.
It's not a zombie, is he?
I have no idea, but maybe you should come and find out. Because he's talking about how he faked death and stuff, and it's freaking me out. I nearly blasted him. Like, maybe come back and figure this out, and then we'll all go together.
Come back. He should be right outside.
On a scale to 1 to 10, how poofy is Eclipse's tail?
Very.
It's like wish.
Both her boys have disappeared. This is not allowed.
Like irritated, snappy tail.
Just flicking backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
I just got here.
Yeah, you're at the graveyard.
You do what you need to do, but I don't know. You're the expert on this stuff.
It's gonna take me about 20 minutes to get back. I mean, if you just want to sit around, I can do it. Otherwise, you can.
I'm going to say, Nick, that any checks you want to do in the meantime, you can do whatever checks you want to do at the graveyard, and then head back, and we'll just cut to when you get back.
Well, I was going to suggest to Merrick and the mayor to take a walk.
Yeah, bring him here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can we have this conversation on a walk? Because Farewell went to the graveyard potentially to look for your dead body. And I feel like he'd be useful in this conversation.
I think that would be a lovely idea. And for one, I really want to see whether or not he can see through my ruse. I'm sure that Albert is quite busy here, but if you have no problem going to a graveyard with a necromancer, we should be fine.
No. That's fine.
Such confidence, Glory.
Always.
I've always enjoyed it. Anyway, if I'm right and you haven't remembered a single thing from when we first met, there's going to be some conversations you're going to find riveting. Come on, let's go.
Indeed. There's a lot we want to know.
So Albert bids you farewell, tells you that he will set up rooms for you in the tavern, which is the Broken Plough, and Merrick waves his hand, and both layers of illusion go back up. And I'm going to carry on talking in his voice, but he actually starts to sound like Henry again.
Okay.
So you start walking through the town, and Henry, as he is now, gets a lot of attention. Normally a few questions to ask him if he can speak to them later, if a particular spell will help them out with their business or their home or little Johnny's knee or whatever. But you also get accosted quite a bit as well. So you do notice, Glory, that one of the girls who is loading sacks of grain into a cart looks at you with a bit of a haughty look, as if to say, I wasn't good enough for you. You walk past two younger members of the town who are currently fixing a goat's leg. One of them is a gnomish woman about 23, I'd say, and she's currently placing her hand on the goat's leg, and you can see a wound is knitting back up of its own accord. She's practicing some healing magic on there, and
Nice.
in what seems to be a loving headlock, because anybody who's had to give medicine to a goat will know this headlock. I've had to do it a few times. It's not good.
That headlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also absolutely that.
I'm more acquainted with the donkey one myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to work on local farms back when I was younger. But yeah, so the second person, who's a lad who's a bit younger, he's about 19, 20, and human. He's got the goat in this kind of bear hug, and I say a bit of a headlock to stop the horns from doing any damage. And he's just kind of whispering to it and all the rest of it. As they see you go past, Cora, the lad takes a look at you and kind of suddenly brightens up and kind of nods as if to say, "We'll speak later." And then the gnomish woman who is healing up the leg looks up and goes and really gets really bright when she looks at you. And yeah, they seem to be friends of yours. Neither of them have given you, well, let's say a look that Glory gets all too often. These just seem to be friendly looks.
They are friendly.
Yeah.
Just in another way.
Two of the guards
Is there someone who Glory seems to have actually slept with, or is it just like people that she's? Though I'm very hard pressed to find Glory rejecting a woman.
We were around for a while. I think surely she slept with someone.
Yeah.
It depends on. She has standards.
She does have standards. At the moment, you haven't got enough data. You haven't been through enough of the town yet. But you've seen possibly somebody who maybe tried for Glory, and maybe Glory went to, let's say, greener pastures. And she felt spurned, and then, obviously was no longer on the list. Eclipse, there's 2 guards who are in the process of taking off their armor, and they've clearly just finished a shift, and they wave over to you. One of them has a splintered leg, so not all the leg, just on the ankle. And when the first one waves to you, the second one turns around. The one with the bad leg turns around and waves to you a little more enthusiastically than the first. So.
I have no clue who you are.
Yep.
I don't say that, but I just wave.
It's the type of social awkwardness that in real life we would all be cringing about, but we can do it because it's D&D. So.
Yes.
You start to walk down the dirt track that lays between the town and the graveyard. The graveyard you can see in the distance is a walled graveyard, so it's got a kind of drywall, for those who know what it is. I know in America drywall is a completely different thing, but this is outdoor drywall, which means literally stones piled on top of each other in a method where they don't require any form of mortar in between. So this is just stones piled up into a wall. And you can see that this is fully penned around, but it seems to be in a little bit of disrepair. And Farewell, you're in the graveyard at the moment. You can see that there are broken gravestones, that need to be reattached. Some have just fallen over completely. The ground is a little bit kind of bobbly, where they haven't been rolling it out and keeping it neat and filling in various dips and troughs as the digging and then the relaxing of the soil goes back into place. So,
and depending on when they show up, they'll probably Farewell and definitely see him chomping around, tidying up, cleaning bits up, making rather rude comments about the fact that, if they had just spent 5 minutes here, it would probably stop the fact that, like any other villages, they end up with fucking zombies. And, why don't you just help to get some of the older people to look after it, as after all, everybody ends up here. And, he's well and truly, as he's been told to wait, asked to wait in this instance, very disappointed in the state of this graveyard.
So there is one thing, Farewell, and I'm not going to get you to roll or anything like that. You're a grave cleric. This is something that you excel in. When you go around a graveyard, you are looking for what I guess would be necrotic energy. And we'll get more into this as we get into the metaphysics. This is the metaphysics session, I'm afraid. There's normally a kind of... There's hotspots around a graveyard where necrotic energy or the kind of free energy that you get around graveyards builds up. And it's the things that the the Barebones clan have been sorting out for years. Using various rituals and seances and things like that to disperse the energy, and the reason why it built up in the first place, to make sure that it doesn't end up triggering forms of undeath. This graveyard, despite its ramshackled nature, is a completely flat field. I mean, it's undulating in terms of the ground, but you walk around here and there are no hotspots at all. Okay.
I've been here before. I've most definitely been here before.
Roll me a religion check.
Or they've gotten up, and we have a bigger problem on our hands than I thought.
This has either been sorted, or something very bad has happened.
It's only going to be one or the two. 24.
Okay. you know that even after you've performed your rituals, you don't get a completely flat plane. What you do is that all the spikes get dulled a little bit. There's a certain amount of, as the process of death happens, that it's kind of like a low-level fountain of this necrotic energy as all the life and, as reality around a dead body and a former person, a big thing for reality, settles back down to just being compost, effectively. And you know that nothing should be as flat as this when you're talking about dead things. I mean, even forests aren't this flat.
We do have a necromancer with us.
So I either did
And he
a
said
really
abrupted he's a
good
necromancer.
job, or something really went bad.
I'm hoping for the first one.
I hope I really did a really good job. Oh, you would have thought I would have cleaned up more. Did
On
I
the
clean
wall.
up well? Did I?
On the walk, Merrick is talking mostly to Glory and Eclipse, being that both of them are practitioners of magic. And he seems to have that kind of old-fashioned professional thing of talking about work when he when he's run out of small talk. And you notice, as polite and jovial as this man is, he ran out of small talk pretty much before you left the market. And he is talking about various spell scrolls that he's trying to find, and he's talking about certain spells that he's developing at the moment. He's finding new ways of using force. So he's trying to look into a better form of Tensor's floating disc, because he thinks it's too limited and it's an unfinished work. And he's pretty scathing about Tensor, actually. He talks about Mordenkainen with almost a fanboy look on his face, but he doesn't seem to like Tensor's work.
We have quite a few of Mordekaiser's books back home. Quite entertaining. But anyways, since you have this unique skill set, I have a few questions about something I've been looking into recently. See, we fought this wizard guy he was an enchanter, really, like a few weeks ago by now, with this time skip, Either way, he summoned these guard dogs. I'm pretty sure they were arcane constructs that followed commands. I've been trying to figure out what spells he might have used and the enchantments involved. Like, here, look at this diagram I made of the facts that I have, and it's just how do you get them that responsive? Like, I know about golems and all of that. Like, they weren't made of real necromantic energies, but more like this arcane construct that's still living. It was weird.
How very interesting. You didn't mention this before. Let me take a look. And he starts reading through your notes, and he says, it sounds a bit slapdash to me. I mean, it's not a very refined... But then again, I mean, as you say, this man was just slapping together enchantments for coin rather than to make any form of masterpiece. More a bodger than an artisan, I would say. Sorry, I must sound very pretentious. No,
I agree. But I mean, this is quite the foundation you could build on to make something even greater. I mean,
you could, but this is a form of homunculus. I mean, this is just basic biomancy with a homunculus twist. Biomancy is not exactly. I wouldn't say it's a particularly good application of arcane prowess.
No.
When you've got druids and so forth who can just call upon fey spirits that would turn into pretty much, well, if you're powerful enough, any creature you want. We can... How do I put this? It's very hard for us to make things like souls, or
Of
to
course
even
not.
call souls into things. I mean, I guess a diablerist would be able to call a demon or a devil into a body, a pre-made body of flesh. Or if you were willing to use a leftover body from one of the dead, that could work as well. But what you're talking about here is that he used his skills as an enchanter to try to create a mockery of life. Most homunculuses are, to tell you the truth. They're just fleshy servants. The unseen servant is better as far as I'm concerned. A rudimentary intelligence attached to a small wall of force. I would say he probably used probably an incantation no more complex than I'd say the third circle. And so I would say it would be something that he had to use as a ritual. It probably took some time. The first part of the ritual, of course, would be to conjure the matter in the first place. So a form of fabrication. Probably the reagent that he would use, I guess a component would be used in favour of being able to just throw this out at the end of a staff or a wand, would be some form of flesh. Any flesh would do. A strip of bacon would be enough to be able to start this going, because he would basically copy the pattern of the flesh and just make a big lump of flesh. Then he would flesh sculpt it in the same way that you would with the polymorph spell, but instead of giving it a perfected form as the polymorph spell would, he would just give it a loosely perambulating and dexterous form, as long as it could maybe move around, know its environment, and follow commands. That would be about it. Maybe he'd get it to grow some eyes or something if he's developed it to that level. After that, of course, this would not be enough. If he just stopped the ritual there, he would just have a big wobbly, fleshy statue that would just fall down on the floor. So he would have to take the same kind of rudimentary intelligence that you would put in the the unseen servant spell, and place that within the body. But then, even then, the servant would only really have, as I say, a base logic, and not really be able to work on itself. So the final part of the spell would probably be to build on that. Maybe copy some of the memory engrams of someone who knows how to fight. If he knew how to fight himself, he could translate that into the creature. Or give them some claws maybe, and just allow some sort of feral instinct to take over, as long as they knew not to hurt him and to obey him. I have
Obviously.
to say, it's a rather messy.
It's a rather crude one.
It is. And really, he didn't have to use flesh. I mean, elementals are far more acceptable. The only problem is that if you lose control of them, they kill you. But, the risks of magic and all that.
I mean...
Oh,
what
I can imagine by this stage Cora's pulling her hair out and she's so bored.
She's kind of walking pretty fast for a halfling, thinking, nearly there.
Oh my god, they're talking about science and shit.
I would say that you probably didn't need to use flesh. You could use pretty much any substance that would work. You could make a toffee... a toffee homunculus if you wanted to, although it'd be rather sticky and you'd get a lot of flies.
Yes.
Yes, Eclipse.
I was gonna ask about, did we talk to you anything about horses at all?
Horses?
No,
Oozes.
oozes.
Oozes. Oh yes, we spent many hours talking about your oozes.
Oh,
So,
good.
Yes. And
Can you
because
give us
that's a
short
really good
quick
sentence
one?
to join in on, that's the sentence that they say as they walk through the gateway of the graveyard, talking about Eclipse's
Hi,
oozes.
farewell.
Yeah. He's like on his knees, like tidying up one of the graves, and he just goes, phrasing? What were you talking about?
Eclipse is like
Farewell, it's so good to see you.
growling.
And at that point, because you don't...
Snappy.
bear in mind, Farewell hasn't seen this. He says, Farewell, so good to see you. Drops all the illusions, and you watch as he rapidly turns from one halfling to another halfling to a goblin.
That seems excessive.
I find
it's
excessive
brilliant.
tends to work well in my predicament. So,
Okay. Don't move.
Farewell.
Oh, yeah, hi. I cast Eyes of the Grave.
sure. You cast Eyes of the Grave and remind me what it sees.
I'm dead.
You muted yourself. You muted yourself.
Shit. Sorry. That's the wrong one. As an action, you know the location of any undead within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover, that isn't protection from divination magic, until the end of your next turn.
You do not detect any undead in the area.
He's not a zombie. And I go back to working on the grave.
Merrick
I
bursts out
used
laughing,
both
going, "Oh no, that would be most unelegant."
I mean, unless, of course, he's hiding himself from divination magic. Has anyone used Dispel Magic on him yet?
I'm an open
No.
book.
Do you want me to use Dispel Magic on him?
That doesn't
Okay.
really matter. He's already dropped his illusions, so we know it's him.
Do you?
Well, no, we don't know it's him. That's the whole
Well,
point.
Yes,
But he
I read
knew
this-
us.
Yeah, but that worry.
Because we told him about us. Because he asked questions.
What do you mean we told him about us?
You are far more on the ball this visit.
No, seriously. How does he know about us?
Oh, I think we got very drunk and we told him apparently a lot of stuff that I.
Come on, you know me.
Yeah,
I
we
get so
shared
drunk. I
Farewell,
get so
farewell.
drunk that I can't put two sentences together.
Glory goes forward, puts her hands on Farewell's shoulders, like, we told him about Olivia and Aiden.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have told him about Olivia and Aiden.
Cora looks at Eclipse.
We did.
We had quite a few, well, boring nights that we ended up having a few heart-to-hearts, a few drinks, some camaraderie after the battle.
I don't think you're my type.
My dear boy, if you were my type, you wouldn't have lost your memories.
Yeah, getting back to that. What if you're not dead and we were apparently friends? Do you know anything about any of this?
I can fill you in with everything that you told me.
I love him.
I think
I'm
I broke
really-
Felicia.
Felicia died. She's dead. Goodbye.
I don't think I'm following what's going on, but
Also, Farewell, we're in a place where we lost our memories. Maybe we should not run away.
I'm pretty sure I was going to be fine. I have a good feeling about this place. My good
Yeah,
feeling.
besides, he's in a graveyard. Where else would he feel fine?
Well, it's not just that. I mean, these villages are usually pretty safe places, and plus,
Well, they're
There
safe
were
here.
assassination
We
attempts on this
seem
very
to have
guy.
let another member of our team has gone and disappeared, and people
what
are
do you
just
mean another
running
member of
away.
our
That's a good
team?
point. What the hell is Aiden?
Oh,
Where's
he gave
Aiden?
us the slip while we were in the office. Didn't you notice?
No.
Yes, I did.
Great. Oh, he's probably found
Well,
some
because of
drinking
places like-
establishment then.
Agatha, do you mind trying to
Anyways.
find the young boy, please? And a
No,
raven
no,
just
hold on,
appears
hold
in
on,
midair
hold on,
and flies
hold on.
off.
Okay,
I'll do that.
that works.
You know he's really not going to like that, right? He really hates
No.
it when we do things like that. It really upsets him.
She'll just
Well,
detect if
I
anybody's
That
died
we
recently,
do
that's
upset
all.
him, to be fair.
Well, I am upset right now, and I am upset by people going off without telling anyone, and so I don't have.
Technically,
We
technically,
knew
I
he
did
was
tell
gonna walk off.
I
He's
did
his
tell
own
you
It was
boy.
exactly where
obvious.
I did
It's
tell
fine.
you where I was going and what I was doing. It's not like
So-
I just wandered off.
Mm.
I'm sure he'll be fine. I shall
Yeah.
find out.
He'll be in the
if he's
tavern, just
company.
drinking and sleeping.
I'm sure.
More than likely.
I'm sure he will be sharing a good jug with Bradford. So, let's get up to speed, shall we? If you've lost your memories, First of all,
Do you mind if I dig whilst you talk?
well, I didn't realise this was going to be a pleasure trip, but who are you thinking of digging up?
I'm looking for the assassins because I assume I've buried them here.
Oh, just over here. And he he walks you over to where they are, and he said, if you want, I could raise them. You could have a quick chat with them.
No, there's rituals and there's things to do like that. Don't worry, I'll be paying attention. You do your talking and I'll do the digging.
The one I imbued with my essence, my resonance, if I'm going to be particular about it, is the third one in.
Okay, I won't pick that one then. Thank you.
At the moment, he's drawing all the scrying off me, dear darling. So,
Yes.
Very useful, that.
very much so. You came to me, and you came to me with, I have to say, not as much manners as you did today. I was under investigation, and I had to prove myself over hours of conversation that I'm glad that we won't have to repeat. You see, I fled Ostergald because somebody was trying to steal my research. My research is in entropy, or if you're going to use the common tongue, necromancy. I work with the free energies of the breakdown of the universe. It happens everywhere. Every time something is broken, every time something is set on fire, every time something is splashed with acid.
It does tend to happen, doesn't it?
Yes. Every time matter is broken down or living flesh starts to die, this free energy floods back into the world. Something that you should know rather well, Mr. Barebones, because you and your family have made a career out of dispersing it. Some people call it necrotic energy, and the damage that you can get by having entropy enacted on your body is called necrotic energy or necrotic damage. The way that these things work is fairly simple. You are a thing. You're a beam of light, or a point of light within the cosmos. Yes, you're standing on this matter ground because the flesh shell that you currently inhabit needs to have something to stand on. But ultimately, you are energy flowing around your body, every thought, every inspiration, the connection with your God, all the rest of it. These are huge amounts of energy that are kicking around in the body. And once you die, understandably, all of these things, the connections with the gods, your inspiration, your vitality, escapes. But where does it escape to? Most people
Back
don't
to the
really
cycle.
Back to the cycle, indeed. Now, the soul is the important part that goes back into the cycle, and the flesh, the matter of your body, breaks down, and that itself has a cycle. But also, the free energy of the cosmos, as it gets released from your body, or from anything else for that matter, goes back into a different cycle, and it's a cycle that actually feeds magic. Now, magic is the free energy of the cosmos as well. Some people call it ether. There's lots of magical theories and how magical energy loses some of its traits. So, for example, you, Miss Tezcacotl, you can see through your opal the various schools of magic. If you see an enchantment, it will come up as abjuration, illusion, entropy, and you're able to detect that. Now, that stays with the energy. That is effectively its resonance. Until it goes into a place called the Maelstrom. Maelstrom is effectively the big swirling void of energy that is the well of energy for this cosmos. And when it's kicked back out, it is pure energy again. Now, when the body dies, and when all of the wonderful energy inside disperses back into the cosmos to return to the Maelstrom, it is going out as entropic energy, or as you would call it, necromantic energy. What a stupid word. Necromantic energy.
Simon, would we have had any, because I'm thinking the other characters being level 10, that we would have any information about this wild sorceress Alexandra.
So, so in the Tuesday game, I'm not going to go too much into it. We have a wild mage, a wild sorceress. Glory, as a sorceress yourself, you know that you get your magic from the dragon soul that is attached to you, and the dragon blood that goes through your bones. Dragons themselves are creatures of very powerful energy. It's how they are able to harness the elements. They are naturally predisposed to magic and shapeshifting, and a beast that large that shouldn't by rights fly somehow does. You know that there are some sorcerers who directly link into the maelstrom itself, and that's wild magic. And because it is wild magic, the turning yourself into a plant pot, killing your friends with wild magic, the usual kind of thing, that's because they're tapping into the power of random, effectively. So you have definitely heard of maelstrom. Anybody who has a proficiency in Arcana knows about the maelstrom, and it is where in Illyria, anyway, in my canon, magic goes to be recycled. Okay, and it's this giant whirling storm of magical energy, the largest source of magical energy in existence. Some mages have tried to tap it directly who weren't wild sorcerers. Wild magic sorcerers are able to pull threads of it out and kind of artistically weave it just on a pure instinct basis. However, some wizards have tried to just open a door to the maelstrom and harness the energy that's come through. There's usually a crater where they've done those experiments. Normally quite a sizable crater.
Yeah,
I can see that.
How does any of this relate to us losing our memories?
Oh, of course, I ramble. Well, I don't know how you lost your memories. All I know is how I convinced you that I was not a threat. Now, it's largely down to this. And he pulls out a tiny, tiny little chest, like a miniature of a chest, that's covered in lots of tiny little jewels. And this is no bigger than a matchbox. He holds it out, and a larger replica of that chest appears sat on the ground. He puts his miniature copy away, and it is Mordenkainen's secret chest. Although, no, hang on, it's the Liamid's secrets chest. It was Liamid who made it, not Mordenkainen. And
one of them.
One of them.
He walks up, opens it up, and pulls out what seems to be a form of canister. So this is a glass chamber with a swirling gaseous form inside that's very slightly glowing, and it's kind of got a blue-purple tinge to it. It looks a little stormy, has little black bits in it that seem to be going around almost like smoke. And the glass case is further encased by a cage that's made out of maybe brass or bronze. You're not quite sure. It looks like some sort of big-ass steampunk battery you'd expect to put into a steampunk hover ship. But he pulls that out, and it's kind of swirling round. He places it to one side, closes the chest, waves his hand, and the chest disappears. He says,
Okay.
I mentioned before the research that they were attempting to steal off me. This here is my Entropica. This allows me to store energy that is released from death, destruction, the breakdown of the universe. Now, the reason why I do this is to help save lives, or at least
hold on a minute.
Them.
Somebody told me that was a type of paper.
A type of paper?
Yeah. I'm not joking. I actually have written down, next time we're in Ostergard, make sure you go to the paper shop, because you want the indigo. You don't want the indigo ink. You need to talk to Mabel because she's got paper called Entropica. So I don't know if I misheard you or somebody's told me something, but that is what I've got written down.
Yep. The wizard gave you directions to a lady who sells good paper.
Yeah, I remember that much. but I may have screwed up the name. The Entropica is a canister that is owned by Merrick Briarstone. The paper that she referred to was a particular type of paper, but I wouldn't have called it Entropica. I'll have to revisit that episode and find out. But you can correct your notes now. The paper was not called Entropica.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm glad you pointed it out, otherwise that would have got really confusing.
Yeah, that's why I started going. I almost said in character, why is your canister full of paper?
So, does anybody know, I should imagine you do because you knew it last time, does anybody know what crystal is required when you're trying to save someone's life, possibly with the Revivify spell?
Yeah, diamonds.
I know.
Eclipse. I think we all know.
Yes, you all know it's diamonds, isn't it? So, and you notice that he is
pretty diamonds.
You do notice that he's quite clearly a teacher as well. He left the university, but before that he was a teacher at the university. So, diamonds.
I kind of see why we were rude.
Diamonds are compressed carbon, you see, and that's what we're all made of. And so what it is, it's basically compressed organic material. It's so dense. It's like how do I describe it? It's just a very dense point of what was once life. Now that's the reason why it works so well for the spell, is that diamond is basically trapped entropic energy. When it's compressed the way it is, it actually sucks back some of the entropic energy that would normally break it apart into carbon. Now,
right. That makes a surprising amount of sense.
Now, Gloria, I'm sure
will... 3/4 spellcaster, so this is great and fresh.
Gloria, I'm sure, will agree with me here that suddenly using every diamond in existence to bring people back from the dead would mean that there would be a shortage of diamond.
Well, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't quite work like that. One needs a divine connection. You can't just mess around with the fabric of life and the circle. If anybody could just bring back the dead, then there wouldn't be the process that's in place.
Indeed. Which is why I can't use this. Well, I can, specifically. I can use it for the things that I can do. But this, the Entropica, you would be able to use, Mr. Barebones, to bring someone back to life.
Did we bring you back to life? Did Falcon bring you back to life?
He didn't need to. There's a spell called False Life, where somebody can shroud themselves with entropic energy, and rather than the entropic energy of a wound, it simply just expends that energy and it goes
back into the maelstrom.
Back into the maelstrom, exactly.
What do you mean? I can use it? I mean, I already don't like this.
Mr. Barebones,
I'm not even...
I assure you that the cycle that you protect, and we have spoken many hours over this, and I will be very happy to speak many more. The soul goes to where it needs to go. The Raven Queen is well appeased. You did your own research while you were here. I simply collect up the free energy that is left behind. I recycle old energy. No different to using compost to make some form of flammable liquor for a torch.
Is that why it's so flat round here? Sorry.
He looks around at the undulating land and goes, I know we've got to get a roller in, but it's...
No, I'm sorry. The when you die, depending on how you die, sometimes it's a little bit more than it is sort of, normal. Other times it's very calm, but there's always sort of a change in the shift, and the more sort of, say, negative energy there is, the more likelihood you are to get zombies, which is the reason why,
Yes, entropic energy, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's nothing here.
That's right, because it's all in that canister.
That's what he meant by it feeling empty, I think.
Yes.
Yes, I've been drawing any entropic energy that I can find in the area into the canister to recharge it.
That's
Fascinating.
people's energy. You shouldn't be holding on to that.
It has no remnants of the people that once used it. In the same way that if I was to cast a lightning bolt, I wouldn't be throwing part of myself at somebody. I'd just be throwing a lightning bolt. I'd be taking some of the free energy that I have access to, and I would be changing it slightly, giving it a form of resonance, as any form of change and will applied to energy does become, and then I would throw it out there. I'm hardly throwing away one of my toes or part of my soul.
That would be amusing to see someone
So-
do it.
I once found a person who'd said resolutely they didn't need a wand, so he used to use his finger. He botched his spell at some point and did actually launch his finger across the room. It was rather amusing.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Farewell, isn't the things being flat around here a good thing?
Indeed.
Not necessarily. I mean, yes, in the sense of you're not going to suddenly get your bends and your burial mounds suddenly coming to life and chopping up most of the village. But equally, magic is not just magic, but the spirit of within all of us is an integral part of the entire world. You can't just gather it all up and then.
I'm not gathering
He
the
said
spirit.
the spirit is not. As he said, the spirit is not here anymore. It's gone to whatever god or goddess or whatever it's gone
Quite
to.
right.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining myself. But what I mean is, this feels unnatural here. It doesn't feel right. It's not part of the world. You've changed the natural order of things.
It's a little calmer than most other places, but I think you'll find if you go to certain places around the world, if you were to go onto the high seas, you would find that there's very little free energy about. Only the energy that would be picked up by druids, for example.
Yeah, but that's different. It's I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with this. It
You weren't
feels-
comfortable for weeks, Farewell. I don't expect you to be comfortable in minutes.
It feels
I think you're a little-
wrong.
It is
It's
not
just-
a subject that is taken lightly, and necromancers, as much as I hate the term, I am an arcanist, and my study is that of entropy. We get a bad press, largely because a lot of us go a little nuts about it all, and also nobody really likes to break down their existence in this world to a pattern of energy, a soul, and then a flesh robot. But that is what we are.
Well, I
The
was
soul
thinking
is
it's
safe, the
zombies.
body is rotting, and the free energy that was once your body heat and your any form of magic that you wielded and kept within your form or passing through your form is now just skittering over the landscape. All I do is sweep it up and use it, and then it skitters back across the landscape and into the cosmos once again. It is what it is. So you see anybody who has cast the False Life spell, or indeed for that matter, the Revivify spell, they are using this free energy. They're using the free energy of the cosmos. They're using the energy that is leeching off the dead. Part of the Revivify spell is it catches the energy coming off the body and throws it back in.
It's that's too clinical, disgustingly clinical.
You didn't
It's
like it
all-
the first time.
Yeah, I
That
don't
sounds
think
like something my
Well, you-
aunt would say.
Farewell, you have to keep in mind, you're talking to a born and bred wizard, and you're a cleric. Your power sources are almost completely different.
I love the compliment, Eclipse, but I was neither born nor bred a wizard. I was born to be a filth-covered little gobshite who would try to steal and kill at whatever opportunity we had. I simply had a different destiny under the gods. Ayun was good to me.
Ah. Goddess knowledge. Makes sense.
She is, and always will be, the goddess that I shall follow and keep closest in my heart. So, let's talk a little more about the time while you were here. I'm sure we can go over this quite a bit more. But anyway, I convinced you, tentatively at first, but you were happy to keep tabs on me, that my study was the reason. Now, this research, as powerful as it can be, as I'm sure that is one of the reasons why Mr. Barebones is worried, and he has every right to be. In the wrong hands, this could be quite dangerous. In the very worst hands, this could be incredibly dangerous. There's enough necromantic energy in there, enough entropy energy in there to be able to raise everybody in this graveyard, for example. So it's preferable that we don't have that as a case. Thankfully, I took the energy from this graveyard, so if anybody was to try to put it back in, it would largely just swim around the place and have to fill up the void before you get any of those nasty spikes. Or I'd have to focus it on a particular corpse to be able to raise it. Now, I was in the university, and people were trying to break into my office on a regular basis.
That makes sense. It is quite a powerful knowledge, so it would make sense for people to want it for themselves, so to say.
Well, they killed my unseen servant, Mr. Bimbles. I was very annoyed about this. Yes, well, I enchanted him, you see, over many, many years, so I didn't have to keep casting the spell every turn. Every time. So he was basically part of my workshop, and they discorporated him and dispelled him, so I'd have to build it up from scratch again. Terrible. Mr. Bimbles had really got T correct as well. So it was...
Did he live in your finger? Sorry, that was a terrible Muppets reference, and I do apologise.
What a crazed notion to have an unseen servant in your finger. Did I not tell you about the gentleman before who blew his finger off because he tried to pass magic through it?
Yeah, you did.
So,
yes, you did.
So they were trying to clearly get to my Entropica. They obviously didn't realise that I had mastered and also concocted one of the secret chests for myself. Apparently not secret enough from Renata. Anyway, when I found out about this strange ooze, to go back to your question about the ooze, I started hearing many different goings on in the university. And one of the things I heard was a rumour that as one of the foremost members of the faculty involving themselves with entropic study, they thought it was me. Can you imagine that I would be so sloppy in my work that I would
allow
end
them
up...
to notice it, like, ugh. And besides, those things were obviously not good enough for the standard we've
They're the
set.
byproduct of a rank amateur.
Exactly!
Exactly. You have always been very astute in this, Glory.
Have I gone to the corpse yet? Because I would have started digging faster by now because it's very upset.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right next to where the corpses are, so you're standing over them.
I just tried to catch Cross, look at me like, shake my head, going like, I have no clue.
No, I mean, all this time that we've been talking, he's been digging. So I'm like, have I actually dug the body up yet?
Oh yeah. So he does mention, he goes, oh, if you were going to dig up the body, I could have just raised it and got it to dig itself out.
There's rules.
I'm sure there are. Let me clean you up. And he points his wand at you. Well, sorry, he doesn't point his wand. He points a little umbrella at you. And your muddy clothes from where you've been digging are suddenly perfectly clean.
I wish people would stop doing that. I hate people just...
Oh, terribly sorry. Do you want me to dirty it again?
I just stare at him. just like, I really, really don't like you right now. And I like most people I meet. I don't like you.
So, Nick, which body have you dug up? Have you dug up a random body, or the one he specified contains his resonance?
Just one of the ones that he's not specified. So the one that he's pretending that he's using to throw people off, I'm not messing with that one.
Okay.
I just want one of the randoms.
Sure, you dig up a female drow.
Shit.
Oh,
Ooh,
that's
this could be spicy.
That's unusual.
Her face is smashed inwards, so her face is actually concave.
Ooh.
Who smashed her face? Daryl?
I don't. Possibly.
I don't think it's Aiden's style to smash someone's face in.
No,
Does
that was
it
one of
look-
Miss Cora's.
Force damage, Cora. That's yours, Cora.
Yeah.
Ouch.
This is.
Good job.
The drow managed to put a crossbow bolt quite deep into Farewell, and Cora just spat at this woman and threw her hand. It was quite impressive, actually. She just kind of turned around, and the look on her face was incredible, and she just kind of grabbed just like some free energy out of the air and just threw it at this woman, and hit her square in the face, killed her outright.
Ah, that's our Cora. Good job.
Well, if she shot Farewell, then she deserved it.
But drow poison as well. It was a good thing that we had some of this disturbing free energy, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to have shielded you.
Just somebody make him stop talking.
I'm back to 3 weeks ago.
Apparently we're all friends, so you might just want to get over your strop and just be friends.
I'm warning you now, I've got silence.
To be fair, except I think Aiden would have tried to strangle him by now.
Oh, yes.
I
Yes.
think Iden's
Mr.
in the
Cannell,
best
I'm
place
afraid,
I could
is
do with a tavern right now myself.
not my biggest fan.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yes.
I'm trying to be able to save people's lives. The Entropica, I'm trying to create a device that when someone dies, as a fast response, I can use it to capture some of the energy of them dying, and you can go straight up and straight away throw the energy back in their body and bring them back to life again. No different to the Revivify spell, only not, and this is the main thing, using a diamond that the poor cannot afford.
That is a very useful thing.
Just can't go resurrecting every. It's just not how it works.
We can't go
Yeah,
resurrecting
to be
everybody.
Fair,
but I can
Farewell.
attempt to.
Currently, only the rich can really afford to be revivified.
And how much
Indeed.
more did it cost to make that stupid thing?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to make that many of them.
57 gold, 12 silver, if you must know.
Bollocks. Anyway, I want to go look at the corpse now because he's sulking. He finds this very offensive and near blasphemous. And there's definitely that moment, like where he sort of like sniped at that bit, where you can see him probably beginning to cast the first couple of words of like guiding bolts, and thinks better of it, and just returns back to what he's doing.
Oh, fair.
I haven't even got to the juicy parts yet, but please, by all means, have fun with your drow. As you go through the drow, she's been looted to the nth degree.
I'm not interested in like items. What I'm looking for is distinguishing marks, if there are any.
She's got. Let me get this right. She's got a gunshot wound. She's got a strange fiery blast, which you are guessing came from Aiden's gun. And that's kind of on the left-hand side of her chest. It's kind of
Speaking of gun, Simon. Speaking of gun, you got to put up the 3 images that Felicia's done so far during break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
he'll try.
see if I can grab hold of those. But we have tweeted them out, and yes, at the beginning of next session, I'm going to kind of do a bit of a kind of an art showcase because I haven't got a Love D&D for next session, so I'm going to do it as like art stuff instead. So you're checking through the drow, and he goes, "So, on to the important stuff before you start touching those badges. You did agree to preserve my secrecy."
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
"Well, you didn't tell Renata about me."
Well, that's because we can't remember.
"No, you didn't tell her about Think Farewell. If you
These
had any
badges
doubts
don't work
about
that
me..."
far.
"No, but there are other ways of sending messages to her.
I don't think I could
Oh,
have
that
done
is very
something.
true.
In fact," he reaches into his cloak, pulls out a scroll and throws it on the floor. He says, "That's a scroll of sending. It'll work for any of you. I've primed it. And it'll work for any of you perfectly. If you want to pick it up and speak to Renata about me now, go ahead. But first, I would ask you to hear the following. You were investigating a red dust. You were also investigating an ooze."
Red?
Red dust? What's the red dust?
"You were investigating a red dust and some ooze. You asked me about the ooze first, and it was only after then that one of you postulated that a red dust might be involved, and I agreed that it would probably be involved. I believe it to be some sort of reagent that Ostergald is using to make residuum."
Oh! Why didn't you tell me about this? We were talking about Residium on the way here because of those things we saw. And
I'm not going to say who
investigating
knows because
Residium
clearly
since
they
for
haven't
weeks.
revealed it to you yet.
I've been investigating it for weeks, and you haven't even mentioned it?
I don't know. I don't know any of it. And looking at the two people who are not saying anything right now, I'm assuming you guys know.
Well, you don't know who said it. It could have been Aiden. Yeah, so you can't make any conclusions. He says, you were looking into this ooze. You quite rightly said that when people were trying to do some form of enchantment, they were pouring too much energy into one place without the safeguards involved. They were trying to use, and he almost spits the word, industry. Trying to use industry to cast magic. Without enough knowledge, without enough forethought, and without, well, frankly, the talent to be able to do it.
Really?
Did we
Ew.
mention...
Now that's an insult to all Arcanists.
Did you...
Indeed.
Have you heard about
This is just getting worse by the day.
gorgets that have been enchanted with soul cage? By any
No.
chance?
You mentioned some sort of brooch before, and that worries me. You see,
Yes.
the type of magic that we're talking about here, it would focus a very intense amount of a magical effect into a small area over a short space of time, in order to, well, I guess, mass produce. It's all factories in Ostergald, and I don't know who was doing it, but that would have caused the type of rifts that would have caused that demonic parasite to come through.
Merrick?
So you're saying this is industrialized enchantment?
Yes,
That's
that
what
is
my belief is.
exactly what he is insinuating. No, you obviously know enough about us, so we might as well mention it. On our way here, we passed by one of the soldier camps for the Duke's army. Every single soldier was wearing a brooch. When I took a look at it, it was entropic energy mixed with... Oh, what was it? It was...
DM speaking, abjuration.
Abjuration, yes. And Farewell and Aiden came to the conclusion that it could only have been the soul cage spell on the brooches that
Or
the
a variant
frontline
thereof.
frontline soldiers were wearing.
Now, we
Same
didn't get this
ones-
before. This is important. previously you were just talking about putting a large amount of energy into one place, and I said it would pretty much work as with there's a thing called the plane shift spell, which if you do not do it correctly will open a ragged portal that will vary from plane to plane, and anything could come through. It's very, very dangerous if you can't do it correctly.
Obviously.
And I was saying that maybe they were trying to make some sort of planar portal that they could use maybe for commerce or something like that. I appear to be barking up the wrong tree. Now I think I understand why they were looking at my research. They would have been able to read the paper, but they wouldn't have been able to go up and inspect it up close. Glory, take a look at the Entropica through your onyx. Okay. Glory puts a hand over her eye, and the onyx on the back of her hand acts
Opal.
as I keep saying onyx. It's an opal. The opal on the back of her hand
dark
suddenly
opal.
acts like one of her eyes, and she can detect magic through the opal. And you can see that the two schools of magic that Merrick has applied to the Entropica is necromancy and abjuration. He explains as you look at it, and he sees the look of recognition on your face. He goes, obviously, the necromancy is used to harness the energy in the first place. Abjuration, being mostly used for shielding and encasing and protecting, is what I use to enchant the casing.
So they're using a bastardized version of your Entropica in order to harness the souls into a reagent for enchantment?
I wouldn't have thought of it that way. Could they have done that? I mean, ordinarily you would...
We did theorize that it would have to do something with, well, harnessing the souls. I mean, there are quite a few examples of where souls have been used for empowering artifacts and weapons. And
How would you get the red dust?
The red dust, indeed, I think is more. It's more that than the soul trap. So let's back up a little bit here. I'm obviously,
of course,
I'm to use the student's term, I'm riffing with you here. And from what I think is the case is that you can disregard soul trap. The soul trap spell is incredibly complex, incredibly difficult to cast, let alone enchant. And these hacks, these industry hacks, certainly
would not
be
do
able
something
to
so complicated.
Exactly. They would probably be surrounded with some form of very horrible effect, worse than the oozes, if they were trying that.
Yeah.
No, it must be something similar, something of the same flavour. Maybe not trapping the souls, but again, trapping the free energy that comes from death. But
by this stage, I've passed like the wineskin that I have in my bag to Cora, and I'm just like trying
grab it really quickly.
I'm desperately trying not to bash my face in off the side of the floor. Because it's just like, oh, I hate this guy so much.
So
just like everything about him just winds him up so much.
It's actually refreshing for you to be the one who's saying that rather than Aiden, which is quite funny.
Yes.
Everybody else likes it. He's nice.
Glory loves him. He has the right attitude.
So, you're saying that maybe this is linked to this reagent that can make residuum. Now, what we know about residuum already is that there's only two sources of residuum. You take a magical item and you dispel it, you break it down, and then it forms a form of energy made into matter, and that is the residuum. Or you find it in the ground where natural ley lines end up infecting the nearby rock, and it crystallizes within the strata. So I would say
they're using the energies of the people they kill to make.
No.
That wouldn't make sense. That seems a bit too far-fetched.
Unless, oh no.
What?
They're harnessing the energy of the soldiers themselves when they die.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense as to why the soldiers were turning the badges in when they returned to the city.
Because they would need the badges to attune to the wearer in order for the effect to happen. Walking up to somebody who you've only seen seconds before and killing them, they won't have time to attune to the brooches, but the person who's wearing it, if they die, they will have been wearing that
Am I the
brooch for
only
some
one?
hours.
Am I the only one that thinks that this is a really incredibly convoluted way to gather excess magic, and that this seems...
Yes, but you have to understand the Residium is not only expensive, it's rare. And Ostgold is currently selling a lot more than it's importing.
And the Jews
I
doesn't
haven't been
like
Don't
paying
know
much
what's coming
attention, but
from.
I can't remember what it's for. Why do people care about this dust so much?
Because you can make almost anything out of it. Every single
We
enchantment
have
has
magic. People
some...
can make anything out of anything.
But you can't enchant without residuum.
Yeah.
If you want to make a ship so that the timbers of the hull can't be set on fire, that they're resistant to fire, and all damaged for that matter, you need to use residuum. If you want to make a magical item, as Glory is an enchantress now herself, or a practitioner, she has a bottle or pouch of residuum.
Yes.
But also, isn't residuum made when magic happens? So isn't that a
No.
cycle that can never stop? I
No.
don't understand.
No, it's more focusing. I mean, you could plausibly pour a lot of magical energy into matter and start to build up some form of residuum, but it just
But
would
it
be
wouldn't
a very
be-
inefficient way of doing it. It would take
Yes.
months to do what just acquiring it out of the ground would achieve in weeks. And bear in mind, magical items, okay, are not exactly super rare, but they are
They are
considered
not
the height of
common.
technology in any city in the world.
Right, and we're saying that killing people makes residuum.
Well, it makes the
No.
red dust, is what Glory is postulating. That somehow they wear the brooch, something gets harvested, something extra step residuum, kind of part of the
Yes.
thing. But the problem is the resonance of it all. It would be entropic energy. It would be necromantic energy. It would still have its resonance. I don't see how you could turn that into free residuum that could then take the resonance of any other spell.
I don't want to be a pain, but I really don't like leaving the body out, and I kind of want to talk to it.
Oh, how wonderful! I haven't done this in
Sarah.
ages. He sits down on. He goes to sit down on the floor, snaps his fingers, a stool appears, and he sits down, kind of, hands on his knees as if he's about to watch a show.
Okay. And that's probably a good time for us to take a break, considering it's
Yes.
just past half past.
It absolutely is. So I'm going to grab hold of the. I was being very Welsh there. I'm going to.
Whose coat is this jacket?
No, that's racist. But anyway, so let me grab hold of the voting.
Pokemon.
There we go. There's the voting link. Put it into
There
the
are
chat.
a lot of sheeps on my thingy now.
Yeah.
Can I even be on there? Because both me and
the Welsh
Eclipse have
Pokemon. It's the Welsh Pokemon. They
It's a sheep.
The Welsh,
Oh dear. They didn't, did they? Oh dear me. Okay.
It's a sheep that rolls away to avoid combat, and I love it.
So they not only put a sheep,
My
they put a
team is
cowardly
gonna
sheep
be-
as the Welsh Pokemon. I am
Yes.
offended.
Because the blue.
We can talk about this at the break. Everybody else,
Yeah.
the link is up. Please vote for who you would like to have a finesse point. They're collecting a few of them here. So I guess Farewell or Cora, because you can't have more than one finesse point. We will see you guys
Indeed.
after the break.
don't you like them?
You don't know them as I do.
I know they saved us from the marked ones.
There's only one reason why they'd be in Lingard.
But no one here has ever seen a marked one. Who are you? Get out of here!
Amari spirit. It's found in your vessel.
I'm marked.
What have you done, Ren?
You won't go away, will you, Ren? I can't leave. My family needs me.
All the people you know think you're evil, dangerous. They will hunt you down.
Anyone caught harboring a mark will be punished. Anyone caught helping a mark will be punished.
Get back!
Anyone caught in support of a mark will be punished.
Hello, everybody. I'm speaking with Wonders and Wonders, a fresh new D&D 5th edition podcast where we follow a group of travelling magical item hunters travelling the land looking for the next one. The DM exclaims at the beginning in session 1 that he's not experienced with the rules of D&D, but he launches into the narrative like he's been doing it for years. Hello, Wonders and Wonders.
Hello.
Hey.
So I've had to set up a quick rig here because I haven't got some of my equipment on the site. So apologies for that, but your sound's coming through fantastic for me. Before you hear a bit about characters, hear about the setting. As I say, Mike, you've just come straight into it from session 1. Immediately I was interested. So can you tell the viewers about your world and your current campaign?
I mean, our world is a homebrew D&D 5th ed world. Sort of started in our old campaign, so we played together for quite some time, and I built little sections of the world as they'd be necessary to build. What was out of any of those? And then when we decided to start the podcast, I started filling the blanks between those and what I'd learned from our first campaign. So everyone to the other side of which I had created.
I kind of like that. I do the same thing where I'm like, I need to sort out how this world connects in. So I'll just throw you to remote location and find out to so afterwards. I was actually speaking to Robert for the recording, and that's kind of exactly what I did. Where I had a bunch of different things. I didn't intend to make my own world, and then I was like, hang on, I've said it's this map travel from this place to this place, or these two borders at war with each other and more evolved than anything else. So you guys, so I said that you previously, was that 5th edition as well?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, actually, that's what we're planning on playing later this afternoon. Like the old camp is still running.
Yeah, campaign go for 5 years, so I can feel it. Yeah, there's a lot of well, after all, I don't know if you get the same thing, but I have trouble letting go of a campaign once it's over to a certain level. So, you at the beginning, Mike, that you weren't that experienced with the rules of D&D, but you've done this campaign.
He was joking.
I wasn't actually joking. A lot of rules I don't know. Kieran and Evan actually here know, I think, every rule. Yeah.
Players know the rules better than you. Yeah, just make sure you got a card to hold up, say that up.
Everybody's been pretty good at the rules, certainly depending on what their story calls for, or what they game for. But
both like story more than we rules.
Yeah,
we all just really like knowing the rules. And it's surprising.
So the campaign, you guys are looking for magical items as part of kind of a traveling circus or show, traveling show.
Definitely become a circus.
Your setting seems to be middle-time fantasy because these magical items aren't exactly super rare, epic, like Lord of the Rings. If you find something, it's super special. But you are able to go out and find things fairly regularly to keep things interesting.
Yeah, magic is common in this world. It's not unusual to see wizards and magic is used to make the. I thought of being sort of young with a pretty strong connection to gods do come to the material plane and they walk around and you can find them
Messed up.
yeah.
Yeah.
People, that's my favorite. The magic, and when the possibilities of what wizards can do, and then trying to implement that into their everyday life of just, which is my room is watching the distance.
Yeah.
You know, my garden gnomes entries will keep the crows at the garden and that type of thing. I find quite interesting.
Recently, as the players in our campaign, I used a plot device and gave a jump level 4-7, which the hell out of them, and said, "Oh, but I don't remember how you got this." So this is pain at the moment that they don't know how they got to level 7, and they're having a bit of a culture shock where, as you say, magic is the technology of respective worlds, and it's they're starting to go, "Hey, look, I can scry on other people," and then you start using MP scrying on them. Hey, no fair. You're not doing that. It's like, I absolutely.
We've had interesting conversations in the past about this, really, with level wizards constantly being messaged. Like, would they have a magic other messages to receptionists?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the amulet of filtering has to be a thing. I'm sorry. A number of times in a previous campaign where they met the one level team and they were like, "Sir, this is happening. Sir, that is happening." I was just like, this guy must hate them. He must absolutely hate them. I almost turned him into the antagonist. So I've already met yours, but I know the people who've watching have talking about the magic involved. I'm going to be watching Rutherford very, very carefully because let's say I know the type. But how we go around to the players, and you can introduce yourself and your characters.
Sure. I guess I'll start and we'll go around. I'm Kate. I play of who is a halfling druid. A player with like a super story, but there might be a few things that come up. Mostly I'm just going to be doing a bunch of exploring.
Nice.
Okay, sorry. I think I had something to say. I'm Evan. I'm playing Balin Rutherford, and yeah, he's a divination wizard, friendly, and just wants to know everybody. Uses magic to help him out.
He prepared to be hated. I played a Divin wizard for Dragon Heist and Dungeon. No, sorry, that it was a homebrew. Sorry, and just suddenly turned around and go and said natural 20 in my pocket. The DM hated. He hated him so much.
I'm excited for that.
He's also got this. He took.
Oh God, you're a monster. All you need to do now is multi-class into Mastermind Rogue, and then you could just be truly hated by every DM that's met you.
I'll just start letting him write the campaign.
Don't do what I can't do.
I play the Brothers of Fey Castle. It's the main one being Rowan, of course, is kind of an observer of people, just kind of moseys about and things that he knows far less about than it seems. And, just kind of has fun wherever he's going. It's been good.
Is this also true?
Yeah. So I'm Robert. I'm playing Star, which is the Tabaxi, I guess he wrote. Tabaxi swashbuckler is what he's eventually going to be. He was sort of originally thought of as a person who had become a master businessman and then instantly became bored of cat style, and then so decided to devote himself 100% to becoming the world's #1 duelist, and now he's just dragged his family along for the ride.
So Antonio Banderas when they make the film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm Mitchell. I play Benjamin Craven. He's a wild hunt shifter. Boy, yeah. Kind of. I rolled really bad stats. How could someone have these bad stats? Well, maybe a child. And so that has something else fall in line with the characters. It meant stats and then forward, as opposed to other times where I have a full character and then attach stats to them.
Yeah.
So this went the other way.
I think that's a challenge. I have said that if I roll really abysmal stats at some point, I'm going to play that guy, because I've played a lot of different characters. As I said to you guys before, I've been playing D&D for 16 years. I've played a lot of bright and colourful characters. What I want to play now is like Eric. Eric wants to be an adventurer, but he shouldn't be. Eric's story is going to be that he is going to die before level 3. That will be the story.
Yes.
That's correct.
Don't know what's going
And I played Zisa Dask, who is a large blue crocodile, barbarian, who completely in the wild, around civilization, grew up in a untamed wild.
The Untamed Wild, yeah.
And having a lot of learning about cities and people.
And just generally terrifying the masses, because again, I've played I played a lizard folk monk, and after a while we just came to the consensus that they go into town. I just wait on the outskirts with the horses, because walking in there and I effectively a velociraptor walk into the city just isn't going to work. Well, I said a few of these things before we started recording, but one of the things that hit me right from the start was that you guys had fantastic, energetic voices, immediately affable, and the sound quality was amazing. I'm told it's going to get better after session 4, but straight away I was a little jealous because of my first recorded podcast and stream being abysmal, but you guys seem to have nailed it. And I mean, especially for me, I think I've become a bit of a podcast. What's the? I've become picky. I've become picky because I listen to so many of them now, and if the sound quality is bad and the voices are flat and things like that, I'm like, well, this is going to be a chore. But it really wasn't. I'm close to the end of another binge, but before I did this, I wanted to get episodes and out. But I can certainly see myself keep those because it's got that fun that it kind of radiates between you all. Some of your decisions, I'm starting to see where certain scenarios will go. Should you be in them? So and that's obviously the essence of good is that I say, I can't wait until they get this, or until these two characters have that conversation. Know what's coming. So it's got a large amount of promise, and it's something that I really love seeing. So I can't go on for now because we put this into the break of a particular stream. If you were to hear yours or follow you, where do they need to look?
They should head to blunder.com. So that's under letter N. They can follow that same Twitter and
Okay, and then find the details to the me here on the screen. And any other Twitter handles or Instagram or that to add to?
Wonder, Twitter, and the podcast. You can put it on Spotify, iTunes, any podcatcher has to be able to find it.
Yeah, I did a bit of a great round. I found your podcast and on all of them. It's freely available and easy to find as well. So that's fantastic. Well, I heartily recommend Wonders and Blunders for anybody who, especially if they've got a computer as much as I do, and to pick up their day if they can listen in instead of music. The only problem that I'm going to have, I feel it ended up at my desk, which could be. So, but Wonders and Blunders, thank you very much, and I look forward to following your adventures. And as you get to a certain part in your campaign, would you be okay to come back and have a chat with us about it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll do a chat then. Thank you very much, guys.
Exactly. Take care.
Welcome back, everybody. And my sound level's a bit too high. There we go. Welcome back, everybody. And we're going to carry on with Farewell asking some questions of the drow. Sorry, I'd forgotten that video was particularly long. I'll keep it shorter in future. So, Farewell.
What to talk about?
You have a very attentive dead body in front of you. I assume you're going to cast the spell and perform an interview.
just there is this moment where like he sees the little shit sat on a stool, and there's just looks at him just like just fucking necromancer. Just giving the rest of us a
Are you
bad
okay,
name.
Farewell? Do you need a fluffy blanket?
Maybe later.
Okay.
And so I reach into the pouch and I take a couple of sticks of the incense and strike them off and light them, and slowly begin muttering under my breath and just occasionally blowing the smoke of the incense into the body of the corpse. And as I do that, I will finish off the incantation for Speak with Dead.
Okay. By the way, Kate, you have a finesse point.
Woohoo!
So,
Thank you, chat.
At first, you get a strange silence, but you know that's part of the ritual. And then suddenly, there's a strange kind of death rattle in reverse from the body, and you hear the Genasi.
Oh, it knows me. Yeah. That wasn't the question, so that one doesn't count. It's fine. Don't worry about that one. This is a bit weird. Can you hear this? I can never remember if you hear this. I hear this all the time.
I
You can talk
hear
to me.
this.
Shit, that was a question. Damn it. Sorry.
Does that count?
Are
as
you
a
okay,
question,
Farewell? Have you lost it?
No, but I may have just wasted a question by accident. Sorry, I'm a little.
What are you
I'm a little distracted. I'm a little distracted.
Simon, did that count as a question? No.
Let's find out, shall we?
Do you know what you're asking?
I have an idea, some personal questions, but if you have one that you want to ask, you can.
No, you go ahead. You just seemed like you didn't know. You're distracted. I get it. Carry on.
This is not how I imagined it going in my head. Anyway, and so I returned to the corpse, and I'm really sorry about that. That was rude. You know, usually I'm much better at this, and I'm rambling. Let's start easy. Who sent you to kill Merrick?
It's your quest.
What is your quest?
My handler.
No, it's one of these corpses. Yeah, they're all. It's alright. Sometimes they're like.
Are you with the cult of Orcus?
What is the cult of Orcus?
The
You know
cult
what
of
cult
Orcus
or
is
is
an
this
assassin's
a glitch?
guild that
Oh,
worships
no.
the demon of the undead. They kill.
Only Farewell
for
can ask questions, I
profits.
think, to be clear.
But they
Yeah,
also
what the cult of
gather
Orcus
souls
is.
for their undead demon master. That is the cult of Orcus.
Was I meant to write that down? Okay.
Except that I asked that question.
What this was that? No, that was. I think that was Nick asking the question, not Belle.
Anyway,
It's too late. He's
it's
answered
done.
it.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's already done it. It's too late. Stop
Okay, you're
arguing.
3 down. This is going well.
This is going so well.
Cora bends down, grabs that wine skin, and picks it up, and just starts chugging again. Missing Iden.
I have some whiskey if you prefer.
This is going so
You have
well.
whiskey?
Yep. Here you go. Noki sent it with
I'm
me.
a little. It's like you can tell that Farewell's probably a little bit flustered now.
The item might need it.
This is going so badly. I'm looking so terrible in front of all of these people. Let's go ahead. Oh, I don't know what to ask. Help! Help!
Well, what will we find out the name? Can you not find out the name of this handler or why they were sent to kill him? Or
Simon, do I know of the assassins that are with the cult of Orcus?
The cult of Orcus are fairly famous in this world, mostly because they were crushed about 80 odd years ago. The war with Orcus finished. Ooh, didn't realize I was giving a history lesson. Hang on a sec. Let me pick that up.
Well, got this lady.
Well, no, it's good to get this clear. So let's get this done, shall we? So,
One question
yeah,
could be, what is the birth name of your handler? Because if you just ask name, they might give you the alias or whatever you call it in English.
Yeah. They're not obligated to give a truthful or straightforward answer. The problem is they can actually be cryptic.
No, they are obligated.
What about a more
to give
coming
truthful
or?
answers.
No, until the spell ends, you can ask a corpse up to 5 questions. The corpse only knows what it knew in life, including the languages it knew. Answers are usually brief, cryptic, or repetitive, and the corpse is under no compulsion to offer a truthful answer if you are hostile to it or it recognizes you as an enemy. Considering we killed it...
I thought it was, because I remember
It recognized
reading...
you. It said your name.
It recognizes, and it's whether or not it recognizes me as an enemy. But as we killed it...
Let's just work under the assumption that we are its enemies.
Yep.
Okay. So the cult of Orcus has been effectively wiped off the earth from about 80 years ago. So that's what I was looking up. Is about 80 years ago there was the last major resurgence of the cult of Orcus. That's not to say that there's not some stragglers, pockets of resistance, obviously, and Orcus can always recruit new people, as most gods and demons do. You know that the New Order, because the year currently is 875 NO, was when the first occurrence of Orcus appeared, and the New Order was raised after that point. and the New Order is an agreement by all of the various nations in Illyria to come together at times like that. Whether or not they'll actually do that, you're not sure, but that was the agreement that was made at that time. And about 115 years ago, one of the avatars of Orcus, so kind of Orcus Light, set foot on Illyria in the Celtlands, in what is now known as the Valley of Ash. And the Valley of Ash has a famous fort called Raven's Ridge, where the last stand was orchestrated against this avatar. If the avatar had broken loose and started to rip across the lands and start harvesting all the undead energy of all the people that he would undoubtedly have destroyed and killed, it would have allowed Orcus to appear correctly instead of just his avatar form, and he effectively would have taken over the world.
Question: What does this have to do with what we're doing, and is this
Right,
just
so
kind of
Corinna's
a
mentioned it
meta-fiction?
because mentioned it because they are a famous Assassin's Guild in this game. So I've answered that question, but no, by the looks of it, there's no sign that this person was Cult of Orcus.
Okay.
Right, so going back to your nth question, Farewell.
Where were you to go once you had completed your mission?
I was to return to Ostergard, receive my payment on board a vessel.
Right, so at least it's all from the city.
Yes.
Where? That wasn't a question, it's fine. Wasn't a question.
Why were you sent to assassinate?
They wouldn't have asked. They wouldn't have asked that. They're
No.
assassins, I guess. They would have just done what they wanted.
Well, you can ask it and see if they know.
Maybe.
That's a
You
useless
got
question.
one question. You make it work.
Where do you meet your contact to accept your jobs in the marketplace?
No, the money, not where to accept the jobs. Where would they to return to specifically, or what dock was the ship? What's the ship's called? Something that we can then locate.
That's a little bit late because he's already asked the question.
Sure. I can't remember how long ago this assassination was. Anyway, the ship's probably long gone.
It was about 2 weeks ago. Actually, you've travelled a bit more since then, about 2.5.
They'd know
close
they were
to 3
dead by
weeks
now.
ago. The answer that the corpse gives is,
All details were given by sending spell.
Son of a bitch.
Smart.
I love the two different reactions.
I look over at our goblin friend and the scroll that maybe is still on the ground.
Yeah, the scroll's still there.
These scrolls can be very useful, huh?
Indeed.
Yep.
If you use the sending scroll,
Anyone
you
within
must-
the university would have had those type of scrolls available, so even
Because
that
it's the
doesn't
most
give
common
us.
spell to be put onto a scroll.
Yeah, that's
is he
true.
still? Is the corpse still there, and is it still attentive to me, or is it disappeared?
It doesn't seem to have flopped down yet.
Phrasing.
Yeah, there's a way that the body holds itself.
You can't rescue that one. Okay, it looks like I might have another question. Thing we're sending.
Question. Yes.
Don't give him ideas.
The thing we're sending is the person that's sending the message has to know what the person at least looks like.
The sender needs to know the recipient, but the recipient doesn't necessarily have to know the
Need to
sender.
know the sender.
Something that this organization exploits.
Obviously. It's one of the best loopholes to use.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a coin on them?
They have nothing. I've already checked.
Fine, they've already been looted.
Yep.
Yes, but I turn to
no,
because it's only Farrell's questions that count. So I'll go and ask to turn to Merrick and say, "Did they have any of these coins on them?"
Which coin are you showing?
The
one
coin
that she
I was
got.
given. The one I was given.
He looks and goes, Yes. Yes, they had... I believe they're with Albert.
Oh, well then. The assassins that were trying to kill you also tried to kill him. That's nice to know.
I do hope they're of a high caliber.
Oh yeah, the best, if what we've heard is correct.
Yeah, so I was given this coin because they can refuse to kill someone once in their working life, and the guy that was set to kill me did not want to kill me, so he gave me this coin.
How very nice. None of these gave me the same courtesy.
Quite rude.
I can't wonder why.
I know, I'm such an affable character.
Yeah.
So
I have a question. I have one question left to ask, and I've probably got about 2 or 3 minutes left to ask it.
Do it.
No, anybody. I've completely fucked this up, and I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't asked any of the questions because this is not how I wanted this to turn out, and I really don't know what to do now.
Merrick, what would you ask?
Hmm.
They were trying to kill you.
Yeah, you deserve a question, I suppose.
Have you
guess
already
the question
done this?
that I need to... killing me wouldn't have been enough. Unless they were to either take my body back, in which case they could try and use a combination of spells to force the truth out of my corpse in the same way that we are doing so here, but less nice. Or if they were to be charged with killing me and also taking the Entropica.
Well,
I
I'm
would
sure they
ask
would have
them
looted you and grabbed
if they were
everything.
to take...
Yes.
Were they to deliver any object or body back to the to Ostergard?
I repeat what he just said.
Search the possessions. Look for the canister. Either way, take the body back. Kill a villager and use magic to make it look like him. That was our order.
And at that point, the body does just flop down on the floor. The small amount of tension in the face and the shoulders that allowed it to speak is gone now. There's no energy left.
Well then, you have world-class assassins after you. This will be fun.
By the way, Simon, can you tell me can you just remind me of the name of the assassin's group, because I did not have my notebook then.
Or you could go back and watch it.
No, because I don't know where it is.
He referred to them as the Blades.
Just the Blades.
Yeah, you have a feeling that that's a slang from within the organisation.
No, because I know I asked around about the thing, and we were able to get it identified.
Adamantine blade.
The Adamantine Blade. Yep, that's it.
Because I wrote it down.
Yes, because you write things down. I'm writing things down now. But
I'm still watching back everything we've done so far. I'm on episode 6. I'm getting there.
I'd like to copy someone's notes for the exam, please.
Trust me. I have exams.
I love it when people suddenly realise, oh shit, the things he told us back in session 2 are actually relevant here.
I love the fact that like that's how you can imagine like Cora like actually goes for exams and stuff. It's like I'll copy, like Farrell makes notes. Cora asks to copy those notes a week before the exam.
Yeah. A week? No, like the day before. She's like, just summarize for me. Just tell me.
Tell me the whole course. That's all I'm asking, in one night.
Yeah. In less than 24 hours, summarize 6 months worth of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your full understanding of it.
Yeah.
Rattles, can you make a college AU for this? Because we're gonna need it.
Yes, Farewell will very gently put the drow's head back down. And if anybody's listening, you can actually hear him apologising for disturbing its rest. He knows that, of course, the spirit doesn't go back into the body, but equally, he's disturbed the corpse, and he's very sorry about that. And I'll begin filling the hole back in, recasting the ceremonies necessary to sort of make sure that the body hasn't been too disturbed and no one can raise it up as a corpse for the next week. And that sort of stuff. So however long that takes.
Sure. So, interesting stuff. Apparently I was hunted by the best of the best, even something I didn't know from our last little investigation. I guess I better fill you in on that part now.
Well, have you heard about them and Rhymetime Blade at all?
No, I must admit I don't deal with adventurers and killers and things like that. Only academic institutions.
All right. Well, we've both had assassins from these guys, so same hat, same assassins, I guess.
Yes.
How do you correlate a hat and some assassin? I don't follow your logic there.
No, because we both had the same hat and we also had the same assassins.
Why are those two facts relevant in the same sentence? I'm unaware. What point are you making here?
Because we had two things that are the same.
Yes, we both have feet, and we're both stood in a graveyard, but I wouldn't state those.
Yes,
things.
the things that are common. Usually people not send books. Usually people are not sent assassins from the same group of people.
Well, if you think about it, they really are, because they're an assassins guild, which means they're sent out to a number of different people, which means, I guess there's less survivors because they seem to be quite potent, so I guess that makes us rare.
I don't like you anymore.
I'm sorry, is everybody bragging about having assassins?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. She seemed to have a point when she was making it, but it seems to have fallen apart somewhat. You are a delight, Eclipse, but you are rather confusing at times. Right. Anyway, moving on. So yes, long story short, trying to harvest the entropic energy of the universe for the good of mankind, and trying to stop myself being killed, either for being a goblin or indeed for my research. Not sure who was chasing me down, although we now know it's in Ostergalden from this adamantine blade, did you say it was? And
yes.
Then
they have these coins.
Okay, and something to do with these strange badges that soldiers have got that we think may have some sort of harvesting property. That turns my stomach rather. Okay, so
indeed.
The theory, of course, has a certain amount of academic ability behind it, but as I say, this is it's wrong on many levels. Doing what I'm doing, collecting energy to help people and effectively giving them their own energy back, that's one thing, but to harvest it for profit, to make shiny items, who would do that? Okay, so
rich and powerful people, because they always like being more rich.
I'm a goblin who grew up in high society. I have
sending this.
Yes. I think we both have met the types before.
We have indeed. Sorry, Cora, what was that?
Well, isn't the Duke the one starting all these wars and sending out all these soldiers?
Not necessarily.
Doesn't mean he necessarily knows about it.
He'll know about the results rather than the mechanisms. If you were to present him with a finely honed sword, you wouldn't be explaining to him how many times you folded the steel, or what type of substance you used to sharpen it, or what kind of blend the steel is. All he would care about is that it was sharp and that it was shiny. So he may be oblivious, which, if that is the case, makes your job? Is it your job? A little easier, because simply exposing it to the Duke and exposing how it may cause him disfavour in the courts to work with such dangerous and, I'm sure, forbidden practices means that he will shut down the operation with all the force he can. However, if he signed off on this and is fully aware of how it is being wielded, well, that's a different matter, and it puts you in a far
Then
more
he'll be
precarious
signing off
situation.
our death certificates.
Indeed. Now, let's round off a few things. Finally, the reason why you left Vaughanford. You did many things here, honed your skills, even found a few things out from me. But I started looking into various theories we had regarding the ooze. I started looking at the movements of my fellow alumni. And I noticed that most of them were staying in Ostergald, some of them going on various sea trips that they've been going on for years, nothing strange, nothing different. And then I noticed that some of them were going down the coast. At first it was very hard to detect. I couldn't find out through any form of paperwork. I couldn't find out from what few allies I have left in Ostergald University. In the end, I was tracking magical signals using Agatha and a few other different means of my own.
Whereabouts on the coast? I take out. I'm pretty sure we have a map.
You have a
Somewhere.
map on you. He says that they are moving down the coast west from Ostergald. And
is it near the cave that we came out of when we were with the Duke's son?
No, that was actually to the east of Ostergald.
Okay.
This is going. You came out on the other side of the city to Freetown to go to where he's pointing in the map, and he points it out on the map. You would have to go through Freetown and keep going past the gold mines into the countryside, and what do you think is probably about 5 or 6 days ride. You are east of Ostergald yourself. So to get to this location would probably be 2 to 3 days ride from here, but it would be 5 to 6 days ride from Ostergald.
Interesting.
Okay. So did we go there?
That's where I was sending you. Whether you went, I don't know.
Huh.
Okay, so...
And that's where my
we
suspicions
left
are,
here
so you're about there.
a couple of weeks ago.
You left a few weeks ago, and I heard very little from you since. So, presumably, if you followed one of my Arcanist brethren there,
I'm getting confused about timelines. We lost 3 weeks. One week we were in Ostergald. Then we came out here and we did loads of jobs. But 2 weeks ago...
So yes, to piece together your timeline, by the looks of it, you spent a week in Ostergald. Then you spent about 3 days traveling here. Then you did some jobs for us. That took about 4 or 5 days. Let me think. Yes, it was 5 and a bit days, which means that you would have spent about 2.25 weeks in Ostergald, coming here and being here. Then I pointed out that the laboratory that I contacted said that they were sending alumni east, and I started tracing their energy signatures, and I sent you off in the direction of those signatures. The location where they seemed to be stopping was 2 days' ride away, so that would have been, let's see, 2 weeks and say 4 days, which means that somehow over the 3 days of you being there, you had your memory wiped and somehow got sent back to Ostergald. Toot sweet. Maybe teleported?
No. Cora mentioned having saddles when we woke up.
Yeah, I did, but we could that could have been from riding east, and then we were stopped, memory wiped, and beamed back. But that would be weird.
Do you?
How long has it been since we lost our memories? Has it been a week now?
Let's see. It's been.
Because we're discussing about 4 week
It's
period
been
here
4
now.
days, 5 days since
Okay.
since the day that you
so that
started
just
off.
about works.
Was it you spent 2 days in Ostergald and then 3 days traveling here? So this
Something
is the
like that.
fifth day since you lost your memories.
Timelines are weird.
Yeah, I've kept it down here, so I know what happened in the time that you were away. But I think you spent 2 days in Ostergald and 3 days traveling. So it's been
Something
5
like
days
that
since
anyways.
you opened your eyes and you were in the city square.
So, Merrick, you said you tracked some people heading east and you sent us to follow them.
That's right. Yes, a location that was on the coast itself. So
And
it
do
should
we
have
know
been
who
easy.
these people were?
No, not really. I mean, I know that random research assistants were being sent out there. Largely, they were going out there with equipment, dropping them off and coming back.
And what happened to them?
I haven't had a chance to speak to any of them.
Let's
but
find
to my
out,
knowledge,
shall we?
they are back in Ostergald. The research assistants are back in Ostergald.
Well, they're the people we need to talk to. You have a sending spell. Why didn't you ask them?
I suppose
Did
I
they
could.
see what happened? Did they know? Were we traveling with them? Did we meet up with them?
Well, I think the people who would probably know more are the researchers rather than the research assistants. But let's start with them. That's a good idea.
Well, rather if we've got to go all the way out the other side. Now, where have we traveled now? We went northwest, east.
So you came out of Ostergald. You went kind of southeastish, and you.
So we got to go the opposite direction completely.
Well, no, because east of Ostergald is where you're supposed to be going anyway. So it's kind of a triangle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I think you're confusing yourself in your head, Kate.
I am. It's easily done.
So if you consider that you've got a triangle, this finger here is the 3 days ride to Vaughanford. This finger here is the 2 days ride from Vaughanford to location X, and the thumbs are the 5 to 6 day ride between Ostergald and location X. Location X is on the coast, and so
how
is
far
Ostergald.
away is location X away from Eclipse's Duratang cave?
It's still 2 days ride because the
Is it in the same
Duratang
direction?
cave is pretty much in this area. It's like a couple of hours ride.
Oh dear.
From this town.
Sorry, it's because previously I'm sure it was 2 days ride from this town.
Yeah, it's like from this town. It was like 2 days out.
Let me check. Oh no! So no, I do apologise. You're quite right. So the Duratang cave is because it's roughly in the direction, but not quite. If you were to go to the Duratang cave and then location X, it would add an extra day to your journey. So it's 2 days ride from here, and then an extra day from the Duratang cave to location X.
Well, Duratang cave. It's like I think that was particular location is.
Yay! Orienteering and timelines.
It was the.
Well,
it was the one in the middle of a field, wasn't it, Simon?
Yes, it's a set of fens. So you do know that the ground there is heavily rotten. It's kind of ferns that grow and then rot, and so it's very loose soil. And there's actually sinkholes in that area as well, where you can just fall into a crevasse between some of this soft, mulchy soil that is split.
Ew.
Well, the comforting thing at least is we know that the Duratang stuff is not connected to what we're doing. So
we hope.
We can take comfort in that, I guess.
Yeah, because it would be quite a disaster if someone were to resurrect an old warlord.
Especially.
Quite a commotion.
I mean, I'm certain the thing is you can't do resurrecting anymore because I think he wants to stay dead. I think people have tried. I think there's correct me if I'm wrong, Farewell. I think there are some resurrection spells where you don't need a body. You can just say a name.
Yes, you're right, but it has to be a willing soul.
It has to be a willing soul, and also that's a spell of the 8th circle.
Ninth circle. It's
really?
ninth circle.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 9.
Resurrection is 9th level spell.
I'm pretty sure I could do it with the 8th circle, but if 9 is what you think you would need to use, then fair enough. But I'm pretty sure I could do it with the 8th.
No.
There's a very heavy exhale of breath from Phil as he's finishing up, like, patting down the grave. And it's like one of those things where he's just, like, staring at the spade, then looking in his direction, and looking back at the spade, and looking in his direction. And it's just such an asshole.
You have a feeling that he is accustomed to people feeling this way about him and doesn't really give a shit.
No.
So this has
That's
been fun
awesome
and all,
fun.
but you know, a tavern and some food would be great right now.
Indeed, let's go drink.
Maybe
It's
less
been
time in a graveyard.
It's been a difficult day. So yes, he waves his hand and the illusions appear on his body again, and you walk back to town. On the way back, he still doesn't shut up, and he starts talking to Glory again about the biomancy that she was talking about. And he says, well, it's a mockery of the flesh, really. As I said before, you know, the energies going into the flesh are purely just the base creative constructs that an arcanist can create.
Cora, as we are going along, is just finding little, like, flower heads and various, like, whatever, sunflowers and various things, and just shooting, either eldritch blasting them or like using her firebolt thing out the ring, just like pew pew, just like so like so good. Oh my god, just like using it to amuse herself, just lopping the heads off of flowers.
Cora, make a charisma saving throw.
Fucking. You can reroll ones.
But not when
it's not a one. It's not a one. Oh, where's my thing gone? Charisma saving throw. Oh god.
You have
8
plus in that.
plus 7. What's that?
8 plus 7 is 15.
Woo. 15.
So, as you're there blasting nearby foliage with your powers that have been granted to you by beings unknown, there's a point where Glory and Merrick is getting a little bit too pretentious, a little self-stroking, and you suddenly let go of a little bit more emotion than you are accustomed to. And you can feel the power just well up in your hand. As you're about to flick your fingers for an Eldritch Blast, you can just see that your skin starts to look brighter, more perfect. Suddenly, you know, you've got perfect skin on the back of your hand. Almost unearthly for a second. It's almost like it's emitting a small amount of light. You go to flick the Eldritch Blast, and you feel the energy just pouring out of your arm. And you know that if you were to let this go, it would obliterate the entire bush and not the flower that you were aiming for. And you just... 15 was the target number. You just about managed to choke back this huge amount of power. You take a breath and let go of the emotional load that you've got at the moment, kind of going, yeah, I've got to take care of this shit. And you feel as somehow your skin feels a little more real. You seem a little less perfect, a little less powerful as you come back to a calm emotional state.
Yeah, I think I need food.
Are you okay?
Yep. Just, you know, I killed enough flowers right now. I just, was like,
Yeah, nothing says.
Risk out here, right?
Assassin.
Nothing says like traveling for 5 days, getting somebody killed to learn absolutely fuck all about what went on. There's nothing.
What are you talking about? We have a lot of knowledge now.
Well,
and a lot of things to
still
get
on the
through.
trail. Yeah, and we've
This
met
was-
this great guy. He's not dead. All those things.
Yeah.
You guys carry
That's
on.
one less death on our hands. A little sad, but it's good.
It's
On your shoulder,
should have
Cora,
been-
Awen says, "Well done, Cora. That's the way to do this. Make sure that they don't have control over you. Make sure that you're able to let go."
What?
Boy.
Oh boy.
They?
By the way.
Oh no, I suppose that could be it.
Cora and Cora Farewell, was it any of you guys who knew about the red dust?
Oh dear, she's not gonna let that go, is she?
Well,
It's a clip
someone
we're talking about.
we've been real that someone knows about it. She's just gonna ask if it's either Farewell or Cora.
I don't know this guy yet.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
By
When
all
Pease
means,
is not
keep your
here.
secrets.
So it
Some
is-
of them aren't secrets to me, but you need to go
I
through
don't know
a
you yet.
process. I think it's healthy. It's healthy for the interactions of your fellowship. That you go through the motions, rather than just cutting to the chase. I think it's a very healthy psychological involvement that you need to have with each other. Bolster each other up. Brick by
Race you
brick.
to the tavern. I'm
Yes,
off.
indeed, the tavern.
Carl taps his chest, turns into a puddle of water, and shoots off 30 feet, and then becomes himself again, and just starts walking.
I will use my feline grace, which
Ooh.
doubles my.
I might be able to use something I've never used before. Do I have it?
just aiming to get. He's given us all these tools. We've not used them yet.
Misty step.
The
Misty step.
situation has not called for it. He introduces one NPC, and we're all like, "Get the fuck away from this asshole!"
I love the fact that I gave Farewell this damned necklace in session 1 that he had, and I said, there's a thing that the 4th edition Water Genasi could do where they turn into a puddle of water and they get to shift. They basically sluice themselves over 30 foot of distance to be able to evade things and get out of cages and things like that. It's really cool. 5th edition Water Genasi should have it. And the first time he uses it is to get away from one of my player characters.
Yeah.
I've not.
Don't worry, Simon. I love him.
Such a dick.
He is such a dick.
I'm casting Misty Step to catch up with Farewell.
Okay, so as Glory and
I'm
Merrick are
running.
talking, Eclipse suddenly goes full cheetah mode and zips off down the dirt track.
120 feet in one turn.
Yep,
No,
yep.
even more than that. Because I can dash I can do my speed 3 times.
3 times, that's right.
So that will be 180 in one turn.
So Eclipse suddenly goes flash mode and darts down the dirt track. Farewell melts and sluices himself around the corner and then basically keeps ahead of Glory and Merrick. And Cora, actually, Kate, describe how your Misty Step works.
I don't know. Never done it before.
I'm giving you a CGI budget.
So she's. It says silvery mist, so I think she's gonna take a hint from Farewell with that sort of silvery, watery type effect, and look like she sort of swirls into a kind of, like a whirlpool almost that vanishes and then.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
I always imagine it like how in the fucking BFA, because I'm WoW trash, the intro trailer, how Sylvanas turns into the Banshee with that misty purple thing and
turns
just
into
flies
like a
through.
cloud.
Yes, that's how I imagine Misty Step working. If I
Probably
ever
that.
use
I don't
it
know.
because
I
I
was
have
put
it.
pressure on.
No, I love the idea that it's like almost you evaporate into like a silver rain and you sort of then float 30 feet across and then reappear. I like that. I think that looks cool.
Well,
Yeah,
this one
that's
Misty
cool.
Step is instantaneous.
And yeah, it's called Misty Step, so I think it's like.
Isn't you the one that's living in England? I'm not supposed to have better English than you. This is weird.
I have better English most of the time. It's just some words I have trouble saying sometimes. But yes.
Certainly better than our Swedish.
Yes.
Ja, för ni kan inte snacka svenska för
5 öre.
I'm sorry, unless you're saying fika, I'm not interested. So
Fika? I had that earlier. It's
fika
fine.
is the only thing out of Sweden that I really, really want right now. Fika, by the way, for everybody, is coffee and cake. It is a institution that we need here by law.
It's an obligatory thing where you have coffee and something sweet and just have a great time
like I say,
talking
it
with
needs
your
to
friends.
be a law. So anyway,
Oh, so then tomorrow we should go have fika at the Swedish place.
okay, yes. Let's get back to the game then.
Okay.
So just a comment on spell effects. Yeah, by all means, you be inspired by whatever it says in the book, but you can change the effect. So if Cora wanted to suddenly burst into flame and disappear as her Misty Step, she absolutely could.
There's a reason why Simon gives me liberal ideas when it comes to glory.
Yeah.
I'm having
you
fun.
can dress up your magic
more out of
as
the box.
the only thing that I knuckle down on is active effect. So
Of course.
yeah, so for example, I let Glory turn some of her spells into acid because she's an acid specialist, but that doesn't mean she can change every spell into an acid effect.
No.
Yeah.
I have the ones I wanted now, so
hell
it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
fine.
And it sounds like the type of stuff she would have focused on, so that's cool too. So you guys get back to the tavern way before Glory and Merrick, as you put a bit of a wriggle on. Merrick is just walking along leisurely down this 20-minute walk, this 20-minute dirt track. The birds are singing, the flowers are shot to shit, and he's just talking to Glory as she goes along. So Glory, well, Felicia specifically, were you thinking of researching this homunculus spell?
A little bit, along with some of the other stuff we've talked about so far. Like, Glory's interesting in a lot of the magical effects that we've seen so far and different ways of combining them.
Okay.
Especially now that she finally has some enchanting knowledge, because that was the first step towards actually researching these things, because they seemed useful and something that, like, she could bring back home and just, like,
yeah. Well,
look at what I can do.
Your personal storyline and your personal goal is to gain as much power as possible and anything new, to learn about fringe magics and technologies that you can exploit. So you've heard quite a lot of that this session, as I've explained a little bit about the history, a little bit about the metaphysics, and a little bit about the plot as well. Well, a lot about the plot. You guys are starting to put things together now, and form theories, which is what I was hoping you guys would be doing. He does point out, Merrick points out, that the homunculus spell is that the enchanter used is inelegant. What this guy Zev probably did with the homunculi is that he was creating those because he was too scared to use fiends or the undead. So summoning demons, summoning devils, controlling devils, summoning the undead, or elementals, they all come with an element of risk. Yeah. If you're good enough at what you do, you mitigate the risk and you keep control of the situation. If Zev was either lazy or too scared, according to Merrick, the homunculi would basically just shut down and fall on the floor if Zev willed it to. Yeah, because he could just withdraw part of the spell and they would be a super safe, if inelegant and not very efficient and not very powerful form of bodyguard. Whether you could make something more elegant and how you choose to do that is up to you. He says that if you want to pursue it, he would first of all start by changing the body into something that's better than flesh. just find a good flexible material, something that you can warp into a form that is capable of moving, and then go for it. It's why he mentioned toffee before, is that it's got a certain density to it, and it's wobbly and can move. So he basically spends the rest of the walk talking about how he would make a toffee golem, effectively.
Yeah.
So whilst they're having their chat, Farewell will turn to Cora and just very quickly be like, I'm a little worried about being here now. He has that Entropica thing. That's like a phylactery to me. I mean, that's dangerous. You know, that's talking about extending life. And if there's somebody in Ostergold that's trying to recreate that, be it the Duke or somebody under his control, that's serious. I think we need to tell Renata he's here.
I would wait.
I don't think we should. We raided last time, and what happened to us? We lost our memories.
Yes, we lost our memories from.
It doesn't matter when we lost our memories, Eclipse. We lost our memories, and we waited.
Yes,
we gave him the benefit of the doubt.
We gave him, even though we don't remember it, we gave him our word, and that should count for something.
It doesn't. We don't remember it. How do we know we gave him? We only know that he told us that.
Renata doesn't know about it. If we didn't give her we didn't give him our, because you have sending.
Yeah, no, I didn't have sending when we came here.
You would have gotten by the time we got here.
No, I didn't. I didn't have it.
You would have, because we were just about to go to level 5 when
we. Alright, okay. Without Meta, he wouldn't have had it, because he wouldn't have had it prepared.
Because we spent a week here. You could have prepared it.
Yeah,
time.
But you're assuming as well. Of course, he told us this at the start, and he didn't tell. We didn't find all of this out until the very end. And we quite happily worked for him and did all our stuff in that first couple of weeks. And at the very end, we found this out. We didn't make that agreement, and our memories went.
Look, I think we can get a compromise.
Our agreement was to not tell Renata about him, not tell her about.
When did we make this agreement? He revealed himself to us without making the agreement a second time. We could have straight away contacted Renata when he revealed himself.
And yes, and I assume that's because he trusts us to not do that.
He knew we didn't know anything. He knew we had no memory.
Yes,
if he trusted us, he's a fool.
No, he trusts us because he knows us, and it would be a great betrayal of trust of someone that we are clearly friends with to do that.
Look, I think there's a compromise here. All we need to tell Renata is that there is this contraption. Okay? We could have found that on a dead body, whatever. We don't have to specifically say he's alive if you don't want to. But we need to tell her about this problem that's in Ostergard. We have to say that there's this thing, whatever it is, and the people in the merchant district want it, and they send assassins out, and that's who we killed.
Goddamn adamantine blades to sort
exactly. We can say all of that without having to mention that he's not dead.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine, because that's what we were supposed to. But I think we should keep our promise that we've made.
We work for Renata, remember? We don't work for him.
I can find out if we made that promise.
I don't care if I made that promise then.
You should. You really should. You should remember your promise. Your word is still your word.
How do we know that we promised it as ourselves? We had 3 weeks when we have no idea if we were manipulated or anything.
I can check.
You can't, because you don't know 3 weeks ago.
No, I can check his memories.
How do we know we can trust them?
Trust his memories. That's. I don't know.
If you think you can trust, if you think you can delve into his memories, you should be able to see us talking and seeing everything that happened, and then you get some of our memories back. So if you think you can do that, you go ahead and do that. But
yes.
Anything I said when I don't remember was not me. I'm only me now.
That's still you, Cora. Cora, that's still you.
Not until I get my memories back. I don't know it's me.
It's still you, Cora. Even if you don't remember it, it's still you. Like you from 3 weeks ago is still you.
Yeah, I'm trusting one person's thing over my own. I'm not gonna do that.
I think the point here is that Cora can choose to say, okay, I made that decision then, but I'm making a different one now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement.
Look.
Okay.
We need to tell Renata something.
You have got a thing to go forward on, though, is that Eclipse is offering to delve into Merrick's memories to see whether or not you originally made that deal, which would be, I think, valuable information for you.
Yes.
Don't know if it...
Question is, do I ask him if he was willing? Because the thing is about the tech thoughts is once I delve deeper, regardless if he fails or not, he will know that I'm prying into his mind.
If he is telling the truth,
this is out of character. This is out of the character, by the way.
I get that, but like.
So this is
sure.
So if it's a good idea to either tell him about it first, so he knows, because if I just go prying in his mind, that's probably not like a great idea.
Are you asking the DM this?
No, she's. I think she's trying to point out that would we be comfortable in her just straight up asking?
That's why I was replying in character, because you're either saying it to characters or you're not. So I would say in character, if you ask that question, then I would say he should have nothing to hide, and therefore he should allow you to do it.
Yeah, he should
ask him.
Consent.
If he doesn't want us to see, he's hiding something.
Yes. So when he comes back, I'll ask him and if I can do it, because that's quite important to know if he actually made that promise.
Okay. So you have that conversation in the final approach up to the tavern, and you go in there, and as you go into the tavern, you get bombarded by a town that loves you. Your local celebrities. You get drinks bought for you all, and you get assured that you've got the best rooms in the tavern. That the food that they have available, the specials are available. It's not that they're just going to give you any old stuff. That they will just give you the that they will give you any food that you ask for. There's a bunch of farm workers, labourers. These aren't seasonal workers. They live in the town, and they call you over. And the gnomish healer that was kind of flashing a look to Cora before says, "Cora, come here." She gives you a huge hug, and she as she's hugging you, the human male that was with her comes up and says, Benny, get off her. And she says, card game tonight?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay. I'll be winning my money back. Fantastic. I'll see if I can get some more of that bramble wine. And she kind of rushes off, and you can see that as she rushes off, she uses some form of magic to go faster. So she kind of starts off at a jog and then kind of goes and then disappears out of the pub.
Oh,
and
I wanna know how to do that.
The young lad turns around to you and says, she was hoping for you to come back. She doesn't really get many people who are, well, I don't know, kind of energetic and fey touch like she is.
Yeah, it's unusual, isn't it? We should talk more.
Yeah. Well,
Cool. Cards? Yeah. I'm drink. Your name
yeah,
again was
yeah,
my memory. I've drunk a lot today. What's your name again?
do me a quick charisma check. No proficiency. Oh, actually, are you proficient in deception? You're
Can't hear
muted.
you, Cat.
Am I proficient in deception? Oh yes, I am.
In that case, yeah, I'll give you proficiency as well.
So when you say I take this my bonus that's 7, right? So
It's basically a deception check.
yeah, okay, 2 7s is 14, right?
Yeah.
Not amazing.
Last time I checked.
So he looks at you for a second, kind of a mixture between confused and offended, and then he breaks out laughing, slaps you on the back, and takes you to the bar. Orders what seems to be the one drink that you would really, really enjoy at the bar. You have a reasonable feeling that you've drunk with this guy before. As I say, he's about 19, 20 years old, and yeah, he laughs. He sees it as a joke, and he turns around and says, as if you would forget old Devon, and hands you a drink. So that's Devon, is his name.
Yeah, right.
So it's Devon and Benny, the two people that you got to know. And you can
He's
see
human and she's what? Gnome or something?
she's a gnome. Yeah, she's a gnome. He's human. You notice he's got quite rough hands. So clearly a worker, but you kind of check him over a little bit to kind of cold read him because they're like, yeah, I managed to get away with it. Let's find out more about him. There is a lute on his back. You have a feeling he might be some form of bard.
Sorry, my cat's going crazy. He's obviously
I can't hear him at the moment.
Oh, that's because I keep
Muting the mic.
keep muting the mic, but he's having his mad 20 minutes. You might hear him scampering.
That's fine. So yeah, the rest of you also get various figures coming up to you, buying you drinks and things. You notice some of the more dour-faced labourers, the middle-aged to older guys are kind of looking in your direction, Farewell. And a guard walks up, and you notice that he's hobbling, and he's got some sort of crutch. And you notice it was the guard that you saw before. He didn't have a crutch back then, but the brace is off his leg now, so he's kind of just letting the leg air a bit. And he hobbles up to you and says, "Eclipse," puts his arm right around your shoulders like you two have been best friends for life, and goes, Some of the good milk and the cream on top for my saviour."
Right?
You've also made a friend.
Hello.
So how does your hunt go? Apparently you were going out and searching for some people for Merrick before he died, bless him.
Yes, that was very interesting. We ran into some trouble, but we're
still looking.
Hey, you're still alive,
still
right?
looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still alive. How are you?
Well, you know how it is. Each one you walk away from is a victory, yeah? And, the legs knitting back together quite nicely. Benny, every now and again, throws a little more magic towards that way. I mean, it was a bloody mess, as you know. I mean, I don't know what spell that person used on my leg, but it made hell of a noise. And, well, there wasn't much of my leg left. It was like a bag of bones. So yeah, and he would have had me for sure. He was going to cast something else at me, and you got him in the back of the neck with that lash knife of yours.
Oh, hey, you got to use your lash knife. That's amazing.
Oh, does she not use it all that much now? Yeah, she.
I do.
Yeah, she nearly took his head off with it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I assume. Well, did you meet my companions?
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
we were all in the fight when the assassins came.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. My memories. Very bad.
Well, Albert
That
says he's
fight
going to
was so
melt down
traumatic,
those
it was-
coins and turn them into medals for us, but I don't need no medal, you know, I was just doing my job, you know. There's a
you
look
still
on his
have
face
the
that says he
on
absolutely
you?
wants a medal.
Oh yeah, and also did I mention that these assassins that came after that came from Medic, also at one point came after me, before I came here.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were they like? Are they coming after your whole group? I mean, if
No,
you
just
want,
me.
I can contact the guard. We'll post guards right around
No,
your
no,
tavern.
no, it's fine, because they have this system, so you know the coins they had on them, like they can give that to their contract they're supposed to kill if they don't want to kill that person. So that's what the person who was sent to kill me did.
He kind of looks a little confused, but he goes, okay. And mostly the thing he gets out of that is the relief that he doesn't have to post guards around the tavern when they know they'll be outclassed by the assassins. He's like, good,
Yes.
so we don't have to keep night watch on you against some world-class assassins. Great.
No.
Merrick and Glory step into the room, and Merrick, who is now Henry Alberman, says, hey, barkeep, a round for everybody, I think. Reaches into the pocket of what is now the fur-brimmed coat that you originally saw him in, and he pulls out a bag of coin, slaps it onto the bar, and it's quickly scooped up by the barman. Everybody kind of gives a little bit of a cheer, and he says, I think everybody needs to unwind a little bit here. It's been a long day for us all, hard working and all the rest of it, and we've got our heroes back as well. So let's all enjoy the night, shall we?
Yes, and I think we're gonna stop there.
We've got 2 minutes left, so yeah, that's probably a good time to stop. So I know that you guys have been given a lot of information, stuff that you're going to want to process, and yeah, meeting Merrick was always going to set you guys against each other, and I'm glad that it did.
Yeah.
Some of you hate him, some of you love him, some of you are willing to work with him, and some of you aren't. So we shall see how it
Don't
goes.
trust him, yeah.
It's almost as if it's a bit like real life, and everybody's got their own different opinions about the guy, and that everyone gets passionate about the stuff.
And he's got a very unique opinion about himself. He thinks himself a very maligned scholar. So, for clarity, your 3 weeks of memory loss seems to be a week in Ostergald, and then some travelling, a few days, 3 or 4 days to Vaughanford. Then you spent roughly the same amount of time in Vaughanford doing quests, leveling up, all that kind of stuff. And then you took 2 days to go to location X on the coast, which I've put the marker on the map there. And then, yeah, you then somehow lost your memories and got back to Ostergald within 3 days, even though it was a 5 to 6 day ride back to Ostergald from location X. Now, one of the obvious things you can do is just go to location X and hope to do better this time. Or you can be a little more prepared before you go there, if you want to go there at all, of course. And this time round as well, you have had a chance meeting. You have seen these brooches, and you feel like there may be some connection. Some theories are being kicked about.
Who wants to change this to become that we become a group of travelling ice cream salesmen? Just like completely sack off all responsibility and just go around selling ice cream village to village. And just be like, this got too much, man.
Cora would eat most of the stock though.
Yeah. All the vanilla. Eat vanilla, like vanilla things. Just going on.
In Dragon Heist, we're running a tavern at the moment on Wednesdays, and my turtle druid Maury can cast frostbite. So if you wanted a frosty drink, she just looks at it and it just frosts over, which I think is a great use of a cantrip. So, thank you very much for everybody who's listening. I'm not going to raid tonight, a little too tired for that. And there's been a head buzzing amount of information to go through, but I'll look up somebody for next week. Thank you very much for Rattles, as usual, and Joe from Heroes of Renown, who popped in for a while. I think he's out now. And also thank you to Wonders and Blunders, who, as you've seen at the beginning of the stream and during the break in the stream, I had caught up with. As I say, we're going to see if we can make the Love D&D sections a little bit better, but we got what we wanted out of them, got to know a little bit more about what they do, and as I say, they've got a fresh and energetic look to it all, and it's one of those podcasts that when you listen to it, immediately you get drawn in, and drawn into the people as well, so it's a lovely find. We'll try to bring more to you, and boost each other and support each other as this community does, which is a fantastic community anyway, especially with everything that's going on in the world. It's kind of, you know, D&D's always been about a little bit of escapism, but I didn't realize how much I would escape into the people of the community, and that's really beautiful. So thank you very much, everybody who is contributing and communicating with us, and our Twitter presence is kicking off with some gusto now, and I'm hoping to enjoy that in a lot of new creative ways as we go forward. And as you can see below us, please visit geekyclean.com. They've got some extra items that are in stock now, and you can get 10% off at checkout with the code chaotic, all one word, all lowercase, and support our artists. They're amazing. Get commissions. We've seen a few podcasts and streams that are now looking towards Rattles and Felicia and some of the others to look for commissions as well, which I love. That's a side effect of us having this humble game once a week. We're hoping to do more, and at some point I need to get together with the players and do a little bit of a state of the stream for collecting more ideas and how we can improve. But I'm glad that what we have got people are enjoying already. Thanks very much, and good night.
Bye.